Welcome to Sports Sound with me, Kenny McIntyre.
Let's go.
As we get underway.
Goals, drama, debate, action.
Listen.
Cue the madness.
Oh, now referee, it's a red card!
Listen, we've had absolutely everything.
The flag goes up for the first time. It's a goal, it's counted!
Welcome to the show.
Beat the bear, Kenny!
Every goal.
Oh, it's a goal!
Every game.
Brilliant
Football from Sports Sound.
Bonkers to its last breath.
On BBC Radio Scotland. Rangers versus Livingston.
Listen, we've got players who are chomping at the bit to go.
Handwell finishes it off!
Out with the Old Firm, I don't think they're playing against a better front two in the Premier League.
Wow, Livingston break through the Rangers defence!
Ross County versus St Johnstone.
You've got to have a balance between not conceding at one end and trying to score at the other end.
County lead of the day!
What we've got to do is be more consistent as the season goes on, and we'll get there.
Oh my goodness me, there's a goal! It's for St Johnstone!
We'll go to County and we'll look to win that game. They'll write us off at your peril. My group will be ready.
St Mirren versus Dundee.
Dundee have got some very good players and recruited very well, so it'll be a very tough game for us.
Difficult game. We know we need to be our best to try and get a result there because they're a good side.
This is Sports Sound. From BBC Radio Scotland.
Utterly fantastic!
Where Scottish football lives.
Welcome to Sports Sound with me, Kenny McIntyre. We've got another busy one for you today. We have pundits at all three top flight games. There's also the option of full commentary from Ibrox. We have reporters at 3 championship matches. I will bring you all the goal news from right across the country on Open All Mics. We'll take a look back on the midweek European action, and today marks the return of our fan segment. That's between 5:30 and 7 o'clock. It gives you, the supporter, the opportunity to join the debate. Today also marks the return to the programme of Tom English. He's in the studio alongside myself and Leanne Crichton. Tom, welcome back. So much to chew over, so much to look forward to today.
There is, yeah. Listen, we've obviously reduced card because of the European stuff, but it's still intriguing. Rangers versus Livingston. Everyone's going to be looking at that one. A much changed Rangers team again. St Johnstone at Ross County. That is going to be an intriguing one. St Johnstone need to get a bit of feel good in there. Even a point for them today would be a decent result. And St Mirren Dundee. St Mirren, great start. It's like, I'm intrigued. A brand new studio as well.
It's fantastic.
Of luxury here.
Yeah, it's great. The studio's all set up. No doubt Scottish football will deliver the big talking points, the drama throughout this afternoon. Let's then get to Ibrox. Our team there is in place. Kenny Miller, Rory Loy, our pitchside reporter Martin Dowden, and our match commentator Liam McLeod. Good afternoon to you, Liam. You can kick us off with the team news there. There'll be a lot of interest around that.
There sure will, yeah, that's for sure. I think Tenglish back in the studio must mean it's the official start to the season today then, here on Sports Sound. The sun trying to...
Spot on.
Yes, indeed. The sun trying to creep out from the clouds above Ibrox here ahead of this one, the first league match here, of course, this season, just a few days after Rangers beat Servette here in Champions League qualifying. They go to Geneva for that game on Tuesday evening, looking to go forward to the playoffs where they would likely face PSV Eindhoven. There were really good bits in the performance for Rangers the other night. There were not so good bits, particularly that second half, and that penalty just on half-time bringing Servette very much into that tie. Michael Beale makes 2 changes today. There's no Connor Goldson or Ryan Jack in the squad at all. The official line is that they have both been rested. We'll hear what Michael Beale has to say about that. Their replacements are Balogun and Cifuentes, who gets a first start for the club, and of course Leon Balogun a first start since returning. Butland in goal, Tavernier, Balogun, Suter, Barisic, Raskan, Cifuentes, Cantwell, Lammers and Danilo either side of Dessers for Rangers. As far as Livy are concerned, it's just the one change from the side that started the draw with Aberdeen last week. I watched the game. It wasn't pretty from either team really, and actually on the basis of chances, Livingston probably had the opportunities to win that match. It's a couple of good saves by Kelleroos, the Aberdeen goalkeeper. Stephen Kelly, former Rangers player, comes in for John Guthrie, who drops to the bench. So it's Shamal George in goal, a back 5 if you like, with Brandon, DeLucas, Obalai, Devlin and Montagno, Holt, Sangare and Shinnie across the middle with Stephen Kelly supporting the main striker Joel Newbley. The referee is Don Robertson.
Thank you to Liam McLeod. Good afternoon to you, Kenny. We'll have a broader debate on the European performance a bit later. You were alongside me at Ibrox on Wednesday night. Definite improvement from Rangers, but Davy Martindale was sitting just behind us. He'll have seen plenty there that will give them a lot of hope. Rangers still a long way off gelling as a team.
No, they are. I mean, I think you've seen in that first 25 minutes, half an hour, I mean, Rangers were absolutely outstanding. It did look like they were going to blow Servette away in the first leg of that tie, but it turned on two situations. Firstly, the miss by Lammers, and then within 3-4 minutes, there was a penalty at the other end that VAR went to, and it was a clear handball by Dessers. Never knew anything about it, but it was a penalty. And I just think right on half-time, that really changed the momentum of the game. It changed the atmosphere inside the stadium, that's for sure. And I think that actually transmitted onto the Rangers players, because it was a bit of a lacklustre performance in the second half. And then when you go down to 10 men, I think everybody expected Rangers to kick on, show a little bit more urgency to try and go and get that third goal, maybe even the fourth goal, and really kind of put a stamp onto the tie. But it just never came. You know, they huffed, they puffed. And to be honest, with a couple of really good saves from Lammers, from the goalkeeper Mal, it was there wasn't really too much to shout about, and that's why the fans got frustrated. It's why they got a little bit edgy. So first league game today here at Ibrox after the result last week away at Kilmarnock. Must be, again, improvement, constant improvement, which will be coming as each week passes. I'm hoping Michael Beale will be hoping, but 3 points is an absolute must today.
We'll hear from Michael Beale shortly, Rory, but what do you make of the side he has gone with today?
Afternoon, Kenny. Well, to hear, I assumed that Connor Goldson and Ryan Jack would have picked up slight knocks or injuries, and that's why they're not involved. I think to rest players after the second game, you know, he said last week that Todd Cantwell didn't play on the Saturday because he had always planned to use him in the European match in the midweek, which I found strange given it was the opening game of the season. In terms of the lineup, it's strong enough to win a home game against Livingston, absolutely no doubt about that. Really interested to see how Jose Cifuentes gets on. I thought he was good when he came on the other night in the game. I think Rangers fans will be pleased to see Todd Cantwell in from the start in the next league game after last week. And Sam Lammers, I like watching him. I think he's got some good touches and things. I think the midweek European game was what you would expect from a side that are gelling, as people like to put it. You know, they showed potential. It broke down a few times. They're still getting to know each other. They're still learning, but they won the game. You know, the game last Saturday was quite the opposite. It was really concerning for a number of reasons. And I know that's been covered at length in terms of how poor their performance last week was. But as Kenny says, 3 points is an absolute must today. You know, just looking at the last two seasons, Celtic have lost 3 games in their last 70 league games. Only one when it matters. So the 2 of the 3 were won when they'd already won the league. So the St Mirren away game is the only one that stands out as a defeat when it matters. You know, this idea that it's the first game of the season for Rangers and the team need to gel, you know, they're all legitimate arguments. However, history will tell you that, you know, it doesn't matter. None of these things matter, because if Celtic continue to keep up what they're doing, you know, all these excuses are irrelevant and they fade into the background. So 3 points today is an absolute must.
As for Livy, Leanne, no surprises, I'm sure. They make life very, very tough for Rangers this afternoon.
They will, yeah, they always do. That's Livingston, regardless of form or where they're at. Even team selection, squad, regardless of how it looks even at this stage of the season, they're always robust. They embrace a challenge against both Rangers and Celtic, I would say. Probably more so when they're at home. It becomes a bit of a tougher nut to crack, certainly, but I'm sure Davy Martindale, we've seen him at the game midweek, his preparation will have been meticulous ahead of this one, and I'm sure he'll have his team rallied and ready to go, because Rangers right now are maybe not fragile, but certainly not in a position that they would ideally want to be. They would have loved to have got off in the front foot last week, picked up 3 points and then have a home game at Ibrox, but they've not managed to do that. So I'm sure Davy Martindale will do everything that he can to capitalise on that.
Send it back to Ibrox ahead of our commentary game, Rangers against Livingston. Here from the Rangers manager Michael Beale. He's been speaking with our reporter Martin Dowden.
Michael, if I can start with team news, no Connor Goldson today, no Ryan Jack. Is that injury or something else?
No, obviously Ryan had a bit of a broken up pre-season, so he played obviously excellently, I thought, in midweek, and it's important we have him for next Tuesday. And I was always going to play Jose Cifuentes today, and with Kieran and John Lundstrom on the bench as well, I felt there was no need for Ryan today. In terms of Connor, he only trained 2 days before the Kilmarnock game, so he's managed to do fantastic after 4 months out to play 290 minutes. And again, for him, we were never going to play him 3 games in the first week of the season. So delighted for Leon Balogun coming in to make his second home debut.
So with Goldson, I'm interpreting what you're saying as keeping him fresh for midweek as well.
Yeah, he weren't going to play 3 games in the first week, so we had to take a hit somewhere, and today's the one. And Leon was aware of that. He's been able to prepare himself for the game physically.
In terms of the strength of the squad, then having the ability to make decisions like that, are you happy with the overall strength and balance you have there to make decisions like that?
Yeah, that's what Leon come back in for, because Leon King obviously had got injured in pre-season. Ben Davis will return to training on Monday, and Ridvan Yilmaz will return to train on Thursday when we're back from Switzerland. So in terms of the back four, we've got a lot of numbers. Now it's important that people sort of make the shirt their own, if you like. If you see today, that is just 2 changes, because we wanted to keep the consistency in the top end of the pitch. Not every player is delighted with that, naturally, because people want to play, but that's where we're at the moment. I think the consistency will help the team, and certainly this front three playing more together. You're hoping that some of the good things they did on Wednesday will now lead to more goals.
First league game back here at Ibrox after obviously the opening day at Kilmarnock. What do you want your team, your squad, to show these fans here today?
I think we need to start off where we started the game on Wednesday, forward running and energy. I thought the fans played a big part in that as well. It's important that we create the amount of chances that we start to take them. Otherwise, everybody becomes tense in the stadium. I think Davey's going to be completely aware of that, and he's going to be very stubborn in the way his team play. They're a good team, and they're hard to score goals against. So we'll have to be right at it today, and the crowd will need to get behind the team. But I think if we continue how we played the game for most parts on Wednesday, the chances will come. The question is now, can we start to take them?
Is your recruitment really focused on that? Like teams like Livingston and many others who come here and the style we all anticipate that they will implement against you?
Yeah, of course. Like when you play European games, there's a bit more space to run into, and then people like Fashion Sakala previously and Abdullah Sima, people like that get big spaces to run into. Last year away from home, we had some big results because of that. Here at Ibrox, we need to be a bit more patient, like most teams at the top of the league, and find a way to get in. That almost comes from some individual play or some combination play. We lost all the forwards from last year. Malik, Ryan, Fashion, Alfredo and Antonio. Those were the players in those positions that have built a relationship. We're now at the stage where we have new guys doing it. We're working ever so hard in training, but it's out here in the games where it needs to come to fruition. We're all aware of that, and I think on Wednesday night, barring 1 or 2 good saves and a big miss from us, we would have had what we wanted. We have to keep pushing.
Just finally, obviously, there was criticism after last week. There always is at a club this size. What have you made of it? Has it been over the top in your mind, or fair, justified, some of it?
Martin, I can't control it. I was really disappointed myself. The group was really disappointed. It wasn't what we planned for. And naturally, the fans who pay their money to come and watch, they don't want to start the season that way. So look, we're all disappointed. No one's had a good week. No one's had a full week of sleep and things like that. I can't control the outside. What's important is that I support these boys day in, day out, and we stick to our work and we stay positive in the environment. And I think the fans will follow us. They follow us everywhere we go, but I think they'll follow our energy on the pitch, and they'll see the effort off the players. That's my message to the players and to the staff. We have to get our fans up and excited, and look, we can't control the background noise. All we can do is win the next game, and today's a hugely important one.
Thanks, Michael. Good luck. Cheers, mate.
Michael Beale there. Kenny, you already described the European performance. Is the tie very much in the balance for you?
Listen, I'm pretty confident Rangers will go through on Tuesday night. I really do, after what I've seen on Wednesday night, particularly in the early stages of the game, but also what I've seen for Servette. I thought they were dogged, that they were determined, they had a lot of heart and fight to stay in the game again with 10 men like they did against Genk in the previous round. But in relation to having enough to go and beat Rangers, I'm just not too sure. And I think if Rangers, again, they are a team that are, again, I'm hoping, I'm sure Michael's the same, that as each week passes, each game passes, and he talked about the front three getting more game time together and getting used to each other and gelling better. I just think Rangers are going to have enough to go there and actually win the game, not just get through in the game and sneak through, to go actually there and put on a decent enough performance to get the right result. So again, I'm confident in what I've seen on Wednesday night, that there's enough in the Rangers team to go and win this game on Tuesday.
9 new signings, Derek. You were also at Ibrox on Wednesday night for long periods. There seemed to be a lack of understanding, a lack of intensity. What do you make of this Rangers side and your early viewings of it?
I thought they started pretty well. Got their 2 goals. Were playing with a little bit of good passion, bit of panache, but they didn't sustain it, certainly in the second half. So you hear Michael talking about the energy levels. Rangers have got to sustain that, certainly into the second half, and certainly from that front three of Lammers, Deza and Danilo. And the reason I'm saying that, because it's a hell of a workload when you look at where they're going to get their width. You know, certainly from Tavernier and Barisic, who were excellent the other night going forward. But it's a big ask, I think, Kenny, you know, to do that for 90 minutes and playing 2-3 games a week. So I think there's got to be a little kind of tweak here or there, or else, you know, that front three have got to sustain not just the quality that they showed early on in the game, but those energy levels, which is so difficult. So yeah, you maybe needs to look to the bench a little bit earlier, you know, and the guys that are coming on need to have that impact. But yeah, good start. They needed that. They won the game, which was the most important thing. But yeah, it kind of just fizzled out a little bit going towards the end, where, you know, you hoped that Rangers would really kick on and maybe kill the tie. But this tie is well and truly alive. But I'm like Kenny, I think Rangers will still have enough to see it through. But I think there is improvement from a whole load of areas, certainly, Kenny.
I believe Michael Beale-Tom was a bit short, a bit niggly in his media conference yesterday. If there is such a thing as a honeymoon period for an old firm manager, he had it last season. Expectations weren't high. He was operating with Van Bronckhorst's team. But this campaign, the heat is very much on. He's been backed heavily by the board. He's transformed the squad. He's got to deliver silverware this season.
Yeah, he does. He's got to deliver the league this season, whatever about the Cups. That is the priority. He has to stop this Celtic juggernaut. The problem he has, and you know, you look at the three midfielders, the 3 strikers today: Raskin, Cantwell, Cifuentes, Lammers, Desters, Danilo. The 4 of them are brand new. The other 2 have maybe 20 games last season. They're all pretty new to the scene. We don't know enough about 4 of these guys. You look at the Ange Postecoglou rebuild from two seasons ago. It really took until around the end of September before Celtic hit their stride and went on that massive winning run. End of September is too late for Michael Beale. If it takes him that long for this new team to bed in just as it did with Celtic, by the end of September the league could be not quite over, but they could be in a very perilous state. So these guys have to hit the ground running quickly. They didn't last week against Kilmarnock. They have to start winning now and winning consistently and converting the chances, because there's a ton of supposed goal scorers in this team now. They've been signed as goal scorers. Their track record doesn't tell you that they're prolific goal scorers, but they need to start putting the ball in the net from the chances that this team will create.
What's your reading, Willie Miller, of this situation? 9 new signings in at Ibrox, a poor start to the league campaign, of course, last weekend. Celtic kicking off with a victory. They looked very good for large periods, perhaps not so great at the back for some spells of that game. Do you still think there's a big gap there for Rangers to close?
Of course it is. You know, I think we don't know enough about this Rangers side. That when you go into the market and when you feel that you've got to bring in, you know, that amount of signings, 9 new signings, they definitely need time. I think most managers would expect to get a little bit of time. Of course, you're an old firm manager and you don't actually get that, and the pressure will come on very, very swiftly indeed. It's really important that he starts winning games, irrespective of how well they play. It's about getting victories, and then you hope that the blend will start to take shape. You hope that the players will start to get to used to each other, that the work in the training field begins to, provide evidence that these new players are up to the mark. They're up to the challenge that is obviously there for Rangers. Michael Beale's got such an important season ahead of him. Tom, they're talking about if he doesn't win the league. I don't know if it would go that far, Tom. Surely I would think that he maybe get another season after that if he runs Celtic close. Do you not think so?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, maybe need to bring some of the Rangers boys in that one. But for me, surely, goodness, you're not expecting Rangers to turn Celtic over. Or you're getting into the season maybe with hope rather than expectation. All these changes, we'll have to see evidence that the changes will bear fruit. But I think that's a hard level to judge a man by if you're saying that he won't get another season after this season if he doesn't win the title.
Rory and Kenny are at Ibrox this afternoon. Does he survive not delivering the title this season?
Listen, it's a very difficult question because, if he was to lose 7-8 games and they were to lose the title, then he would for sure be shown the door.
I wouldn't argue with that.
Yeah, well, so it's difficult. I think it'll come down to performances in Old Firm games, results in Old Firm games. There's a number of things you would need to take into consideration. I think it's a very, very difficult question to answer. If Rangers go and lose the league by a point, and most of those points were dropped in the first 2 or 3 games of the season, 4 or 5 games of the season, then I think you're looking at a situation where he definitely gets next year. So if he's 12 points behind come January, February, I do think he won't last very long. You need to take into consideration the cups as well. If he delivers a cup or 2 cups and loses out on the league by a narrow margin, then Michael Beale will for sure be in charge next year. So at this point it's a guessing game. I would tend to agree with Willie. I don't think it's as simple as if Michael Beale doesn't win the league, he will be sacked. I think there's a number of circumstances which could transpire where he doesn't win the league, and he still has his job.
I think I think Rangers have gone all in on Michael Beale and they've gone all in on the transfer market.
I would agree with that, Tom.
I just don't contemplate a scenario whereby they would have invested this level of money and think that second place is okay. It isn't.
Tom,
it isn't.
If they sack Beale at the end of the season, are they going to have to invest the same amount of money for the new managers coming in?
Listen, let's not go there. It's a bit premature.
You started it, Tom.
No, I didn't actually.
You said he would get sacked if he didn't win the league.
Well, I think he has to win the league, but we're one game into the season, so let's not sack the man just yet. I'll just say the pressure on him is
You're
huge.
the only one that has sacked him, Tom.
It's huge. It's huge.
Guys, I'm not sure many Rangers fans, I think you agree, would it set, no matter if it's a near miss, would it set not winning the title this season?
No, and listen, I've spoke to a fair number recently, by the way, in the last couple of weeks, and a lot of Rangers fans are convinced, like Tom says, that Rangers have gone all in terms of a transfer budget for Michael Beale, and I would agree. I'm not saying it's as drastic as you are sacked, you're out the door, but I think there would be a parting of ways, whatever that would look like. And even for Michael Beale, I think he's a bit of a careerist when it comes to himself. So I think as it edges close at the end of the season, if Michael Beale doesn't look like he's going to deliver success at Rangers, I think he would start looking for a way out the door as well.
So if he wins the Scottish Cup, the League Cup, Leanne, and misses out on the league by a point, you think he'll leave?
It's a different story, a point, but is that realistically going to happen in all seriousness?
No, but I think that's what we're saying, Leanne. I think what we're saying
Celtic
is...
have been so dominant in every cup competition virtually that they've played for the last, decade? And all of a sudden we're gifting Rangers 2 cups and 1 point of a difference.
Yeah, but
we've got the manager sacked as well.
Well, here's the realistic thing then. The realistic thing is that you look at the situation in Leanne's spot on. Celtic have been extremely dominant and Rangers have invested a lot of money. I don't see Rangers winning the league. I don't see them winning the league.
No.
So what you ask yourself is, well, are you going to be realistic about things and know that you need to build things? They've invested a lot now, and I know that you're not talking about instant success because we're talking about over the course of a season, but you're going to give the manager time to then potentially build things. It doesn't have to be investing in the same level, but building things over a couple of years, because Rangers, for me, are not going to win the league this year. Brendan Rodgers, with that squad of players, is going to be an incredibly difficult task for anybody to be able to stop them. And I think there needs to be a level of realism at Rangers and Ibrox that for them to be able to stop Celtic is going to be a monumental task. And if they don't do it, I'm not convinced that is a sacking offence. Now, there's different levels to that. You miss out by a point,
I don't think there's any question that should not be a sacking offence. If you're missing out by 30 points, then obviously it's a different scenario. But there's definitely shades of grey in between there. But I think there needs to be a bit of realism that it's not a black and white scenario. If you lose the league, you lose your job. I think that's crazy.
I think the sense of realism you would hope is there, Michael. I'm not sure in a black and white world of Glasgow football that it is there.
I don't disagree, Tom.
You know.
Derek Ferguson.
And here's the other thing.
On you go, Michael.
Sorry, Kenny. I've got a bit of a concern with, and this falls on Michael Beale's shoulders, because he's been the only man really in the building that's been bringing these guys in to a large extent. I'm not convinced that he's brought in the right types. They're all very similar, and when anybody will tell you, when you're building a team, you need to get a balance. And a lot of those guys that have come in look very similar to me. Technical, nice, neat. Where's the guys that are actually going to get a game by the scruff of the neck and win it for you? I'm not convinced I've seen that so far.
And what I'm really intrigued about watching Rangers today and in the coming weeks and months, because you look at Lammers, Dessers, Danilo, 24-year-old, 26-year-old, 28-year-old. They've been around quite a while. They've bounced around to a lot from club to club in their careers over the last 3 or 4 years. They haven't really settled. They haven't really scored the amount of goals that will convince you that they're going to get the job done at Rangers. Maybe Michael Beale sees something in them. Maybe he can revive them. But I look at Lammers, Sampdoria, Empoli, Eintracht Frankfurt, Atalanta, PSV in the last number of years. Dessers, Cremonese, Genk and Feyenoord. Danilo, FC20, Feyenoord, Ajax. They're moving around from club to club an awful lot.
Outside of Leon Balogun, Tom, the other 8 signings have had 42 clubs between them.
Yeah.
That's a concern, isn't it?
I think it is, on the face of it here as we sit here now. Yeah. But they could shoot the lights out, who knows? But I'm just looking at the bare facts of their careers, and I'm going, yikes, these guys, they're not journeymen because they're too young to be journeymen, but their careers' paths, why are they moving around all the time?
Derek Ferguson, your thoughts on this?
Listen, Kenny, the guys are speaking a lot of logic, but when it comes to Rangers, logic goes right out the window. Second best, that's not what the Rangers supporters want, quite obviously. And I think Michael Beale has been brought in to win the league. You know, he's been through the door. He's changed the team totally around. The relationship he's got with the board, and he's convinced them that he's the man that can win the league for him this season. So I'm a little bit in the court that if he doesn't win the league this season, then he won't find himself in the job at Rangers anymore. I think that's what he's been brought to do, and that's why they've invested the money, a big turnaround in players. He's convinced the board that he's the man to bring the title back to Ibrox. It's a big ask, we get that, and you look at Celtic so strong, and we get all that, but the Rangers supporters demand to win the league, and that's why he's there. So I'm a little bit, just I say that if he doesn't deliver, I don't think he'll be there next season.
Well, Rangers are in Champions League qualifying action on Tuesday night against Servette in Geneva. There's full coverage right across BBC Scotland on radio, television and online. Before that, of course, they face Livingston at Ibrox this afternoon. Let's hear from the Livy manager, Davy Martindale. He's been speaking with our reporter, Martin Dowden.
David, we all know the challenge coming to this environment. We were just talking there a second ago. Last season you came here very close to winning. Is it the same sort of template you'll adopt today?
In terms of trying to win the game, yeah. Shape's probably a little bit different from what it was last year, to be fair. Want to try and be as aggressive as possible on and off the ball. Obviously, they had a poor result from Rangers standards last week, but I know it's going to be a totally different game at Ibrox. I was at the game on Wednesday night. They were lucky not to be 3 in front, and I think if they'd went 3 in front, it would have been a different game, and then Servette go up and get a penalty. So I've seen a bit of both there. I know it's a team that's in a transition. There's a lot of new players coming into the building, but I've also seen when it does gel for periods in the game, they're a very, very good football team, so it's going to be a difficult job today.
How equipped do you think you are, given the ins and outs you've had to come into this so early in the season?
I'm okay with it, to be fair. I'm not going to sit here and I made a promise to myself, and this is the last time I'm going to even say it about budgets. I'm not interested, honestly. I've actually bored myself with talking about budgets. So I'm actually quite comfortable with the group I've got. I probably need one more in an offensive area, which is not going to have a huge part to play in today's game. So I'm comfortable with the group of players that I've got in the building now. We're growing, we're in a wee bit of a transition, but it's probably we're used to that transition in terms of the staff and the core group of players I keep every year, because we transition every year with the amount of players we lose and the amount of players we have to bring in. But I'm fairly comfortable where we are as a group.
When you say transition, is it the same Livingston season on season you're trying to, or are you evolving it in certain ways?
You're always trying to evolve it. You change the shape, you change the systems. The personnel within the shaping system's always going to change. Every player coming into this building's got their own idea of their position and how they want to play that position. They've got to buy into the work ethic first and foremost, and then we build from there. But every player, where you get one left centre back's not the same as the next left centre back. I lost my right centre back and my right back. I've brought players in that can cover their positions this year, but they're totally different players, albeit they're playing the same position. So the philosophy, whatever you want to call it, the identity does tweak and it does get changed year on year.
Thanks, David. Good luck.
Cheers, thank you.
Davy Martindale there, Kenny. Talk to us about the job he does against the odds. I would love to have seen his face last week when Malky Mackay claimed that Ross County have the smallest budget in the league.
Yeah, I just hope he wasn't driving at the time he heard that. No, I think, listen, Davy's done a wonderful job. Year on year, like you said, when they punch above their weight. Last season, I think, and rightly so, there was a few questions thrown at them, because forget budgets and forget anything else that surround budget. They've actually got some really, really good players in that team. You know, I've played with some of these guys. They're good players, and they have got an identity. They'll fight for every single, I was going to say point, but they'll fight for every single ball in it on any given day. So I just felt they got away from that a little bit towards the end of last season, because I had them for long spells nailed on to be in that top six again, which would have been an outstanding achievement for Davy, his staff and his players. But they fell away a lot. That's why I think there is question marks surrounding it. How is it going to come a time where they do find themselves and it catches up with them? Well, I think what Davy does create, and he's touched on it there, he tries to get the right type in. Listen, irrespective of their qualities as footballers, they tries to get a similar type in that understand they have to come here and fight. They need to work hard first and foremost. And like I say, when you've got guys like Jason Holt played with him, he's a wonderful football player. Andrew Shinnie, Rory will know him as well for his time at Rangers. Brilliant footballer. But these guys work super hard as well for the team. So it'll be interesting to see how they go today, because Davy's had, I'm going to say, a bit of success. There's not been too many wins against Rangers, but there's been some draws. And there's one thing for sure, that they're competitive every single time they play against them. So it'll be interesting to see how they go today. But there's one thing for sure, Davy's done a wonderful job in his time as the Livingston manager. And it's probably a bit harsh when he does come under a little bit of pressure and receive a little bit of criticism, considering the restraints he's working with.
Rangers against Livingston kicks off at 3 o'clock. There's the option of full commentary or open all mics. Hearts and Hibs are in action tomorrow after their European exploits on Thursday night. A Lawrence Shanklin goal away to Rosenborg has Hearts right in the tie. There's been so much talk, John Robertson, throughout the summer about the managerial setup at Hearts. I don't know if you saw the interview that Stevie Naismith and Frankie McAvoy did together. I found it certainly to be a really uncomfortable watch, far from convincing. What are your thoughts on the setup, John?
I think the same as everybody else. It appears it's to circumnavigate the European aspect, because obviously Stephen doesn't have his pro licence, and I think they're all just they're going along the aspect of that's the way they're going to present it. To me, Stephen seems to be still in charge. I know Frankie's come out and said that he'll pick the team, he'll make the final decisions. Again, that it may be the case, it may not. It's rather confusing, but I think most Hearts fans are pretty convinced that for all domestic games, Stephen Naismith will definitely be in charge in picking the team and picking the tactics. And perhaps for the European games, it needs to be Frankie, because he's got the proper accreditation. They've come out with that. We saw the interview as well. Yep, I can see where you're coming from, where it may have looked uncomfortable, but the noise is coming out as everybody's happy with it. Everybody knows what's happening. Everybody knows what's going on. So you've just got to follow that and see how the results go. It'll be interesting if the results weren't going as well as they were. Who gets the blame?
That's a very good point. What do you make of it, Michael?
The big thing here is that Look, first of all, I think it's a nonsense, the rule, but it is what it is. And the biggest thing it shows me is folk that run football clubs a lot of the time, they're full of nonsense. They come out with talking about succession plans and everything's in place and all that. They knew the situation, and if they didn't know, it's a dereliction of the duties. They knew that Stephen Naismith didn't have his badges. They knew that the laws in terms of the rules that were in place, yet they've proceeded along with the lines with what they've now got, which is tin pot as far as I'm concerned. And you're right, results will paper over a lot. My biggest concern is inside the changing room in terms of, I know what Rob was saying there, and the noises are good and great. Well, I'm not sure, because two managers or two guys that are supposedly in charge talking to the players is going to breed chaos, uncertainty. And my other concern is, after seeing what happened on Thursday night there in Trondheim, I don't know what the thinking was in terms of putting Benny Beringame to start a game when he's been out for so long, to put him in when he played, what was it, less than 10 minutes at McDermott Park?
There's so much criticism, Michael, out since last
because
March.
It's nonsense. It's absolute not. This is a guy who's a wonderful, player for Hearts, but he's been out for so long. You need to manage him like he's a youngster coming back in, mentally fragile, and now I don't know how much that's going to set him back, because his confidence will be shot, his belief will be, questioning whether he's physically capable again. And that was all completely avoidable. And that feeds into my whole point about I'm not comfortable with the managerial setup there. Chaos, uncertainty, and that's not what is needed. Hearts have got a good squad, by the way, and a lot of that will be able to get the team results. But first and foremost, I don't agree with the UEFA law and the rule, but it is what it is. And I just think that the guys that are running the club, this is not a circumstance that they should have been putting the club in.
Willie, I think I'm right in saying you shared these concerns last week when we discussed this.
I think you've got to make it careful. I can't see surely a situation where McAvoy's the manager for European games and Naismith's the manager for domestic
Chaos.
games. I just can't see that actually working. Listen, you can say to the world what you want, but Michael's right. Inside the dressing room, you've got to know who's in charge. I put an example forward when I played. It was Alex Smith and Jockey Scott. Now, to get Jockey to Aberdeen, they had to make it co-manager. But we all knew that Alex Smith picked a team, had the final say, and we all just worked with that. So that's what you need. You need clarity. The two of them can, be a very good team together, but just make it clear, and in particular to the players. And I don't see why you have to have this kind of a pantomime, in terms of who's actually making the decisions and what competition. I just think you say, that he's a manager. Your rules are rules. So you're matching the rules by bringing McAvoy in. So there's no problem with being legitimate here. But just tell the players and tell the fans who's actually making the rules and who's making not the rules, who's making the decisions, who's picking the team. You need to know that in the dressing room.
Michael, surely they've done that.
I can't see any other way. That's what I'm saying.
They've obviously done it, because Michael's right. Yeah. If they have not, and again what Rob was saying there about a manager for this, listen, there's no way in this world that's happening. They're doing it because of the rules that's there, and they're having to make the outside statements.
That's what I'm saying is I think most people agree that Stephen Naismith is the legitimate head coach, and I think he'll be making all the decisions. But
so John, can I just ask on that though?
But I think the players all know that Stephen Naismith's making all the decisions on the training field and the game.
Absolutely.
But for UEFA, they have to say it's Frank McAvoy because of the rules.
I would agree with that, guys, but can I just ask?
You can just put it down in paper, though, can you not?
Do you actually think, though, that if results don't go their way, that Frankie McAvoy is going to foot the blame for then a team that he's not? So is that, do you actually even ego-wise as a person, you think he's quite comfortable just taking that on his shoulders?
That's the grey area, that's the grey area that hasn't been
that is the way
clarified.
It looks, but then when it starts to, when he's constantly fronting it up, then it becomes a bit more difficult if things don't go the way you would want it to go.
It won't be, because as soon as they're out of Europe, it'll revert. Stephen Naismith is the manager of Hearts. He makes the decisions. He picks the team. The players know this. The players know who the manager is.
I'm not convinced of that, Tom.
No, it is the case, Michael. The whole
so
Frankie
McAvoy is involved in training. He is speaking to the players.
Of course
he's passing over what.
He's a coach.
He's passing over. He's the head coach. See, this is the thing.
But he's not the manager. The manager is Steve. The buck stops with the manager, and that's Stephen Naismith, and everyone knows that.
Tom, so what? So if Hearts have a bad run of games and they're not doing well, then Stephen Naismith, the technical director, will lose his job, will he?
I mean, it seems ridiculous, Tom.
Everyone at Hearts
knows that's following the logic of your argument, then, Tom.
Well, if you listen to the logic of it, you might hear it. Stephen Naismith is the manager of the club.
Yes.
Everybody at Hearts knows that, so the buck stops with him.
Michael.
Yeah, so that's what I just said to you. So the logic would be, if they're on a bad run of form, that Stephen Naismith, the technical director, would lose his job. Is that what
you would presume so? Yeah.
Michael, just on that.
We'll wait and see.
Michael, just on that. You know Stephen Naismith's on the training field every day. Correct?
What's that? Sorry, Robbo.
You know Stephen Naismith's on the training field every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hear me out. Technical directors aren't.
Robbo,
so that's
I think he's misunderstanding what I'm saying. There is a situation here where there are two people involved. That breeds chaos and uncertainty.
That's chaos, Michael. I think Stephen Naismith's making all the decisions.
It only breeds chaos and uncertainty if the players don't know who's in charge. Right. But they do.
Absolutely. Because actually we'll discuss this in the 5:30 segment. I know we'll get some Hearts fans coming on. Interesting to hear their thoughts on this. Just briefly from yourself, Michael. Hibs also European action. You were at Easter Road. What did you make of the performance? I saw a lot of Hibs fans saying on social media that every time Lee Johnson needs a result, when he's under severe pressure, he delivers one. The supporters seem split on the manager still.
Yeah, because it's inconsistency, Kenny. That's what's been the problem, for the time that Lee Johnson's been at the club. It's they've got middle to front. Hibs have got a team that will go and cause a lot of other clubs in the top flight problems. Defensively, I've got concerns about them, but anybody that's going along to watch Hibs at Easter Road or away from home, they should be in for an entertaining game. How long Lee Johnson survives, I don't know, but it's a very good point, because it does seem to be the case that whenever the pressure really does mount, there's a result that comes away along that just manages to sort of ease things.
There was, remember the 5-0 against, was it 5-0 or 6-0 against Aberdeen last season?
Oh, steady. Don't go back there.
Sorry.
Come on, I've just recovered, Tom.
Well, it's such in the distant past. It's irrelevant to all Don's fans. But that was a weekend where Lee Johnson needed a result, and by God he got one. But it's true.
Yeah, you obviously the game Willie got last weekend, by the way. Hope he gets a better one today. So Hibs and Hearts in action tomorrow after the European exploits. The game of the weekend, of course, Aberdeen against Celtic. That one kicks off at midday. Let's then get back to today's Premiership action. 3 games in the top flight. We have reporters at 3 grounds in the Championship for you. I'll bring you all the goal news right across the country. Now, though, there is a choice of listening. For full commentary of Rangers against Livingston, tune to BBC Radio Scotland on digital, Radio Scotland Extra on BBC Sounds and 810 medium wave. And for open all mics, choose BBC Sounds and 92 to 95 FM.
Football from Sports Sound.
Brilliant drop of the shoulder.
BBC Radio Scotland.
There's no substitute.
Good afternoon from Ibrox. Liam McLeod here with you on Sports Sound, 810 medium wave, and on BBC Radio Scotland Extra, on digital and online at bbc.co.uk/Sports Scotland. Rangers against Livingston, match day 2 this weekend of the 23-24 Premiership season, as Rangers look to bounce back from that defeat at Kilmarnock on match day 1 last week. The first time they'd lost an opening top flight fixture since the opening day in 1998, when Dick Advocat lost his first domestic game in charge at Tynecastle against Hearts, just a few months after the same 2-1 scoreline had beaten Rangers in the Scottish Cup final at Celtic Park. Advocat had beaten Shelbourne in both legs of a UEFA Cup qualifier before that game in Edinburgh. It hasn't happened in a top flight fixture until they lost out at Rugby Park last Saturday. Huge blow for them. Livingston started with a point against Aberdeen. A pretty dull, goalless draw, but it was a really resolute performance by Livingston. They played the game really well and actually could have won it with a couple of opportunities that came their way. Both teams almost ready to go. The two captains, Michael Devlin and James Tavernier, with the referee Don Robertson down below us with the handshakes. So it's Butland in goal for Rangers. There's no Goldson or Jack. They have both been rested today, Michael Beale says. Tavernier, Balogun, Suter and Barisic at the back. Leon Balogun's first Rangers appearance since the Scottish Cup final last May. Rascan, Cifuentes, Cantwell, Lammers and Danilo either side of Dessers. For Livingston, Stephen Kelly comes in for Guthrie. George in goal, DeLucas, Obalai, Devlin are the middle three. Brandon Montagno wide, Holt, Sangare and Shinnie with Kelly off Newbley. Rangers are going to kick this game off just beyond 3 o'clock now in the blue shirts, white shorts, black socks or the red tops. They will go right to left towards Broomloan Road in this first half. If you know the area, that is right to left as we watch from the main stand, and Don Robertson gets things underway. Stephen McLean's the VAR incidentally. Livingston all in yellow with black flashes will shoot towards Copeland Road in this first half. I'll keep you up to date as best I can with all the scorelines across Scotland as the goals go in here on Extra and on digital as Balogun picks up, and immediately Leon Balogun on the left hand side with John Suter finally for him able to play on his more favoured right side of the central defence, having had to make way for the Rangers veteran nowadays, Connor Goldson, as Balogun picks up on this near side, rolls it along the grass out to Barisic. The sun has crept out from the clouds above the stadium this afternoon. Really good conditions for the match, and obviously at this time of year the pitch is looking fantastic. Rangers responded initially to that defeat to Kilmarnock by beating Servette here in Champions League qualifying on Wednesday. Good in parts, Kenny, but in other parts not so good. Kenny Miller.
Absolutely, I mean it was an outstanding start to the game. Electric they were, Rangers right out of the gate against Servette. They'll be looking for more of the same today, but again, even in these early stages and just over a minute gone, you can see Livingston, the shape that they're going to adopt. They're a 5, they're a 3, they've got Stephen Kelly who looks like he's trying to get in and around Nico Raskin to stop him dictating the play. So I mean they've set their stall out again. It's going to be like last week against Kilmarnock. It's Rangers' job to go and break that down.
Yeah, tall order for Livingston, though they probably should have won here last season. Joel Newbley put them ahead early on. They saw it through all the way to second half stoppage time before John Lundstrom scrambled an equaliser for Rangers. They were very unlucky, Livingston, and they're going to have to put up that kind of performance again today, you feel, if they're going to take anything back from Ibrox. And they haven't ever won here, so this is an opportunity for them against a new look Rangers team yet to bed in, as Lammers knocks it back into his own half for Cantwell, and he rolls it forward there the first time. Ball back by Danilo, through comes towards Dessers. Danilo trying to pick it up, but it's well defended there by Louis DeLucas. The right hand side of that back three for Livingston. It's effectively a back five, of course. Suter finds Tavernier down the right hand side for Cifuentes. He's asking too much of Dessers, and Shamal George flops down onto the ball at his byline left of his 6-yard box, and on 2.5 it's goalless in the very early exchanges here at Ibrox.
And everything would have expected from the first couple of minutes. It's predominantly been played in Livingston half, with Rangers moving the ball about. They're looking to probe, they're looking to prod and try and break this resilient defence that Livingston's down. But it is at this early stage of the game, Livingston full of energy, concentration, and any chances to report as yet.
Rangers on the ball with Rascan inside his own half though. Slips it out to Tavernier, who scored in both visits to Ammanvale last season against Livy, including on the opening day of the league season. Dessers back to Suter. It's a big cross-field ball by John Suter, and he picks out Barisic. Barisic controls, tries to shift it down the line towards Cantwell, but it bounces off Jamie Brandon and out of play. He goes for a throw, and Jamie Brandon in the Livingston team at right back was a youth player at Rangers back in the day. Andrew Shinnie was as well. Stephen Kelly clearly was in more recent times. And Cifuentes picks up and rolls it out to Tavernier on the right, level the edge of the D of the Livy box. Lammers with a touch, and Danilo with the effort and the right foot sweeps it over the crossbar. it remains goalless.
Good touch from Lammers there, again a clear indication of how Rangers are going to try and break down through the middle of the team, through Lammers, through Dessers, through Danilo, the combination round about the box, and it was a snapshot for Danilo, half a chance. I mean, he caught it pretty well, just got it too high over Shamal George's goal, but you could see Livingston, there were so many bodies in that middle area. It will be hard in these early stages to break through that.
How often will Sam Lammers have been going through that opportunity when he went to his bed on Wednesday night?
You know, he'll have played it over, he might have watched it back. I'm sure, again, like I tried to give him a benefit of the doubt that it might have been offside, but he wasn't. He was well onside, and he should have put Rangers 3-0 up.
Long ball for Livy, Newbley, nice little touch at Stephen Kelly. Shinnie out to Newbley, gets a helping hand in the overlap from Brandon, eventually passes it up the line to Jamie Brandon, shielding the ball from Barisic, who does enough to win it back for Rangers with a combination of he and Cantwell. Now it's back with Barisic, whose attempted long ball's charged down by Newbley, and out of play it goes for a throw-in on this near side. Rangers of course know all about the dangers of Joel Newbley, scored against them twice last season, as I said, including here. Gave them the lead early actually in those first two meetings last season, and it looked as though his goal was going to be enough for a historic Livingston win here.
And it should have been actually. I mean, I think they were very, very unfortunate, like you say, Lehman, and the sending off, which I felt was a bit harsh in that game. I think it was Morgan Boys who had got sent off in that game, but it was too much. It was too much to hold out, and Lundstrom got the equaliser. But you could see already in that kind of little counter attack, Stephen Kelly's going to be in and around Raskin defensive, but he's going to have to get up and support Joel Newbley when the ball goes forward. Joel Newbley's a big lad, he can hold the ball, he's a technical player, and clearly, as Rangers seen last season, he's got a goal in him as well.
Yeah, that red card for Boys came 12 minutes from the end, just when you don't want to be losing a player, when you're protecting a lead at one of the big stadiums in Glasgow. It is Livingston with Montano who launches it forward, and Balogun has to be careful with Newbley in behind him as he passes it back to his goalkeeper Butland at the edge of his box. Little short ball out to that far side. Wraith Rovers have taken the lead incidentally, 4 minutes in against Morton in the Championship, 1-0 to Wraith Rovers, and that is the first goal in Scotland this afternoon. 3 Premiership games today, 3 tomorrow. Full coverage here on BBC Radio Scotland as Leon Balogun picks up and shifts it to Lammers in the centre circle, and back to Balogun, who finds Barisic. He'll go back to his goalkeeper. Do you make of them bringing Leon Balogun back to the club? There are many who feel it's a no-brainer signing. He's going to be a squad player for Michael Beale this season. He obviously knows him well from his previous spell here with Steven Gerrard.
Yeah, and obviously signed him for QTR as well, so he believes in his ability as a player. He obviously likes him as a character and about the building, and again it's clearly been needed because he's starting the game here today, because of whether it be injury to Gunnar Golson or getting rested or whatever it is. Ben Davies is injured, Leon King will just be coming back. I think we've seen him in the warm-up, so it's been needed, someone in that area of the pitch.
Barisic down the left-hand side, challenged by Brandon. Eventually it pops out to Andrew Shinnie, who finds Newbley, holds it up well, rolls it out wide left for Montano, down to Shinnie, who had his arms up to suggest he was coming back from an offside position, and the pass forward ends up at the feet of the Rangers keeper, who knocks it short to Tavernier, right up to the halfway line. Long ball, Dessers gets it round the goalkeeper, shoots, and it's blocked there by De Silva. That was going in, there's no question. Really good play by Rangers. Shamal George is breathing a big sigh of relief though, because Cyril Dessers went round him, and it looked for all the money as though that was going to be a goal for Rangers, but Louis De Lucas was on the line in the right place at the right time. 8 minutes in, 0-0.
It was, but it was offside. You could say it did look. He had made the run, which was good to see that he was running beyond, because it's something that Rangers need to do more. They need to penetrate these back lines with the forward runs, and he just went a little bit too early, and it was offside. But wonderful touch, like you say. Shamal George will be glad. He'll be thankful for his defender, and he'll also be thankful for the flag.
St Mirren have got the first Premiership goal of the weekend early on against Dundee along the M8 from here. St Mirren 1, Dundee 0. I'll get you the goal scorer as soon as I have it, as Leon Balogun picks up, and he's midway inside his own half, and then a little square ball to Suter, who has it, and he rolls it to the right. Did you get the St Mirren goal scorer there by any chance, did you?
Absolutely did. Shaughnessy OG.
Well, that's quite the return for him.
Absolutely.
Paisley, isn't it? Shamal George meantime holds on to a ball played across into his own box from the right hand side by Dessers. Yeah, the offside flag did go up against Dessers, but he was in the right position. He anticipated that the goalkeeper wasn't going to commit to it. It's a long ball from George, breaks Barisic's way, and he goes back to Butland, who swipes at it. It's a happy accident though, because his clearance, which was meant to be up in the air, ended up along the deck, and it went straight to the feet of Raskan.
I think he'll tell you he meant that pass to cut right through the middle of the Livingston team there.
Of course he did. Cifuentes to Tavernier to Lammers over on the far side. Short ball infield to Cantwell, little dummy. Dessers back to Cantwell, good play by Rangers. Cantwell in the box, effort block, back it comes to Lammers, who fires it home and gives Rangers an early lead against Livy. It's brilliantly worked, you have to say, down that right hand side. The little give and go and dummy at the edge of the box opened the Livy defence up, and they came back to Sam Lammers, who smashes it home into the top left corner for his first Rangers goal, and it's Rangers 1, Livingston 0, and that will be a big relief to Lammers personally, I would have thought, as well, after his miss here the other night against Servette.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, and you see it so many times with a player getting the next chance in the next game and he bounced back, and it was a wonderful finish. But again, it's Cantwell inspired. You know, the over to Desser, and Desser links it really, really well with Cantwell. I'll be honest, Cantwell should probably reverse it back to Desser, and I think Desser would end up with the goal. He tries to find Danilo across the face. Shamal George gets a foot on it, but it breaks ever so kindly for Sam Lammers on his right foot, slams into the back of the net, and just inside 10 minutes that was. It was the perfect start again for Rangers, like we've seen again on Wednesday night. Let's hope they can build on this time, but now it changes things for Livingston. Livingston are going to have to show a little bit more, definitely at the later stage of the game, to try and come back into it. But wonderful start for Rangers.
Exactly the start you don't want if you're a visiting team here. You come to Ibrox or Celtic Park, you dread the early goal, and that's exactly what Livingston have conceded here.
It's the old cliche, Liam, and get past that first 15 minutes, and it's unfortunate for Livingston they've not managed to do it.
Get past that first 89 minutes, you mean. There's Balogun for Rangers side, football forward to Danilo, and he goes all the way back to his keeper. And it's Butland to Suter, out to the right for Tavernier, and then to Suter again.
I mean, I think Cantwell's just showed how important he is in the team. You know, he was missed last week in the starting lineup against Kilmarnock, but the energy that he shows in those areas, he is the one player for me in this Rangers team that looks like he can unlock defences, not just with passing and his creativity, but with his running power and his energy as well. And like I said, that goal was Cantwell inspired with a 1-2 in the overs with Desser.
I thought he brought a bit of vibrancy and maybe even some flamboyancy to the Rangers' performance from kick-off on Wednesday evening that was kind of sadly lacking for them at Kilmarnock last Saturday evening.
No, he did. Again, it was like a lot of the good stuff was going through him, and even if it was deeper, he can get on the ball in the build-up phase, but he always moves forward with the ball. He doesn't just stay behind it and watch the game in front of him. He gets ahead of the ball as well, and he was the only one that was alive in that box for the penalty. He could read the touch coming from the Servette defender, and he nicks in front of him, and he knew the contact was coming as well when he bought the penalty. You know, so he was alive, and again in this first 12 minutes he's been one player that has shown an urgency to get forward. He has been looking, I could see him off a pass from Cifuentes. He was wanting it over the top. He wanted it in behind that Livingston backline. So again, full energy in the opening 12 minutes for Todd Cantwell.
Rangers with a 1-0 lead, then St Mirren with a 1-0 lead, thanks to a Joe Shaughnessy own goal and his return to Paisley, just left there for Dundee in the summertime. And it remains 0-0 between Ross County and St Johnstone. Ayr United have gone 1-0 up against Cali Thistle in the Championship, and so have Queen's Park against Arbroath. Troubled start to the season for Dick Campbell's men in the second tier. Montrose 1-0 up at Annan in League 1. No goals in League 2 as yet. You can keep up to date with the scorelines at any time at bbc.co.uk/sportscotland. It's Montano for Livy, pinched off him by Cifuentes, picked up by Tavernier to Cifuentes again over on the right, level with the edge of the centre circle on the Rangers right hand side, and it's been total control for the hosts so far, and they've got the goal to show for their efforts as well. There's a big cross fielder from Suter to Barisic is on again, and he finds him again as Barisic finds Lammers, little flick for Cantwell who does likewise. It's De Lucas who's underneath it for Livingston, as the pass forward by Brandon finds Stephen Kelly, just turning back facing his own goal into his own half under serious pressure here between Lammers and Cantwell. He's emerged with it despite all of that. It's brilliantly done by Kelly as he finds Holt, who goes back to Obalai, to Devlin, the Livingston captain this season, replacing his namesake Nicky, who went to one of his former clubs, Aberdeen, in the summertime. Jack Fitzwater, another to depart from that Livingston defence. He's still without a club by the looks of things, at least he was a couple of days ago. As Devlin finds Holt, who played here a good few years, over 100 appearances for Rangers. Jason Holt, Kenny knows, of course, playing with him here at Ibrox.
Yeah, he was a brilliant player for us over that spell when Mark Warburton came in. He's adopted a little bit more of a different role in this Livingston team. He's more of a controller sitting there, but for in our team, he was a bundle of energy running forward.
Long ball for Livy to Newbley. He's inside the Rangers box, holding off Balogun. Newbley, he'll be happy with a corner there. It's come off Balogun last. Livingston have their first corner of the afternoon as we approach the 15-minute mark, with Rangers leading by 1-0.
And he's done his job there, Joe Newbley. He's got a hold of the ball. He's positioned himself between Balogun and the ball coming in, and he's got a corner. You know, that's exactly what he needs to do for Livingston today. When the ball goes forward, it has to stick. He has to get his team up the pitch, buy free kicks, or in this situation, get himself a corner.
Obalai's up, DeLucas is up, Devlin is up. Corner comes towards the near post though, and Shinnie can only help it behind for the goal kick. It's a real waste from a Livingston point of view. Sangari took the corner, but he'd want another go at that one, Kenny. Really poor delivery.
You know, it was a poor delivery, but you could see Shinnie had ran off his man, so I'm not sure if he was trying to pick Shinnie out or not, but Shinnie had lost his man and was across the front post, so it's not something you would expect for Livingston maybe to put it in there. They've got a lot of big lads who would maybe just hang up there and let them go and attack it, but Shinnie got across his man and obviously got the contact.
Difficult to score from that contact though, wasn't it? Cifuentes picks up, he's launched it into the box and it skips across the face of goal and behind for a goal kick, which Shamal George will take. And David Martindale down there just geeing his troops up, because the task of taking something from this game got altogether harder as soon as Sam Lammers found the net with that finish. 2-0 Raith Rovers against Greenock Morton. Hamilton and Vaughan with the goals. It's Lewis Vaughan's penalty. It's made it 2-0 as Raskan comes forwards. A delicate chip ball. Cantwell's in behind. Then it just goes over the head of DeLucas. Cantwell can't get onto it in the box, but he's on it now as he chips it towards the goal frame again. Livy managed to get it clear, only as far as Barisic. It's now with Jose Cifuentes on this near side. Short to Barisic, he knocks it off Stephen Kelly, and out for a Rangers throw-in on this near side.
I'll tell you, I thought Todd Cantwell was going to get on the end of that pass, and I think if it had ended up in the back of the net, Davy Martindale would not have been happy. It's a straight pass with his defender through, looking for Jason Holt, and it just sets the attack up for Rangers.
It's Danilo rolling it along the 18-yard line of Livy, but no takers in blue, and it's picked up instead by Montagno, who works a 1-2 now, looks to bomb down that left-hand side. Brilliant run by Montagno. Here's Newbley, goes down, no free kick. Good challenge, Balogun. Davy Martindale wants a free kick. He's appealing down below us, he's not getting one. And instead it's Rangers who emerge with the ball with Tavernier. Montagno left him for dead there though.
You know, it was just a bit of misunderstanding there between Suter and Tavernier. Obviously Suter's normally on the other side. Tavernier's missing his long-term partner alongside him, Connor Goldson. There was a misunderstanding. I think Tavernier expected Suter to step in and take that ball.
Rangers free kick. Cantwell's been brought down over on this near side. It's about level with the edge of the D of the Livingston box, couple of yards from this main stand touchline. Edinburgh City 1-0 up on Queen of the South. Innes Murray with the goal in that League One match. League Two still no scoring in the 5 matches there. Leeds in the Premiership then for St Mirren, and here at Ibrox for Rangers. 0-0 between Ross County and St Johnstone in Dingwall. 18 on the clock here. Rangers free kick. Barisic and Tavernier over it. Tavernier with the right foot bends it in, and DeLucas decides to keep it in play and breaks back to the right hand side of the 6-yard area for Suter, who lashes it high over the crossbar. And DeLucas has taken on some amount of abuse from some of his teammates. He's a set 2 with Christian Montagno in there, because the ball was whipped in dangerously by Tavernier. It looked as though he put too much bend on it for any of his teammates to get on the end of it, and it was going behind harmlessly for the goal kick, but DeLucas decided to take a touch almost exactly on the 6-yard line.
I think he was trying to set somebody up there. It was a cutback type touch that he took, but you could see it was a really, really high line from Livingston, like a good line, and with Tavernier putting at the ball in and culling it towards the goal, you think it was always going to be hard for a Rangers player to go on the end of it. It might have been better if Barisic had put it in there, but anyway, they got the chance through Suter, and Suter should really be doing better. He's got good technical ability for a centre back, John Suter, and it's sat up ever so kindly for him, but again he's just sliced under it, rail over the bar, but a good opportunity for Rangers to get the second.
Free kick to Rangers, just round about the halfway line, just inside the centre circle, left of it, as Suter picks it up and rolls it down the right hand touchline for Tavernier, who does likewise for Cifuentes, level with the Livy 18. Cifuentes back in field, rolls it back to Raskan, who finds Lammers, who goes back to Suter. He in turn goes back to Balogun. As I said, his last game for Rangers was that Scottish Cup final victory over Hearts. He started that final. Tavernier finds Raskan, back to Tavernier, moving in field, little short ball to Lammers, squares it to Cantwell, midway inside the Livingston half. His attempted bending ball in towards the box is cut out, but it breaks kindly for Tavernier, who goes back to Suter, and now to Tavernier again. Chip ball headed away by Obalai at the edge of his box. Not a great header though. Devlin is beaten to it by Cifuentes, who shoots with the right foot, and it's patted behind by Samal George. Cifuentes did not look favourite going up against Mikey Devlin there, but he managed to get the snapshot away. It was heading towards that near post area. I don't know if it was going in or not, but George saved it, and it's a Rangers corner.
Yeah, it was brilliant for Cifuentes there. Like you say, he looked second best, but the one thing that's I like about it is he's alive. He's proactive. He's not allowing just a simple clearance for the Livingston player. He's right on top of it, making them defend, and it was a wonderful effort. Good save.
Barisic takes the corner in, swinger with the left boot's a good one. It's bobbling around and into the net, and Cifuentes does score. He has just lashed that one past a stranded, stricken George. It's a fabulous goal, directly from the corner. He got right behind that. It draws applause from his manager, who's extremely excited to have him here. And it's Rangers 2, Livy 0.
Yeah, I'm not sure the Livingston defender, might be Singari, as the ball comes in and just bounces off him. I mean, there's a lot of bodies in there. As the ball comes in, it just falls. It's Cifuentes again. He actually goes up and contends it, and he just outpowers them, and it just falls right in front of him, and he smashes it in with his right foot. Straight over the top of Samal George. He deserves it as well. The potential handball check.
Yeah, they're just checking that just now. Don Robertson has his left hand up to his left ear.
That's the telltale sign, that, isn't it?
That means it's serious.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a monitor off to the right, Kenny. It's not the best. It's not that easy to see because the light's shining on it. You can make it out though, and we're just waiting to see a replay of this. Does this Cifuentes goal stand or not? Let's find out.
I'm going to say straight away, if it's hit his hand, it'll be ruled out. But there's no way he's going to know anything about it, because the ball's coming in so fast and it's coming past the rookie players. If it has struck his hand, he's not going to know anything about it.
Martin Dowden's our pitchside reporter. He's watching replays.
I have had one view. I've just had another one. It seems to come off his chest and then roll down the bottom part of his arm. So
it'll be ruled out. I think
it will, Kenny.
It'll be ruled out. It has hit his hand. There's no doubt.
Yeah, no goal. It stays 1-0.
And it's one of them. It's probably to the rule book. It's probably bang on, but it's pretty harsh.
So after all the celebrating being done by Cifuentes for his first Rangers goal, he's back to 0.
On his debut, on his home debut as well, his first start for the club it would have been. Again, and he actually played a part in the build-up to it with the shot that led to the corner. But listen, there'll be more chances to come for Cifuentes open the score, and particularly the way he plays.
But that's a major let-off for Livy, isn't it? Because they're still in this game now at 2-0. You just cannot see a way back for them. At 1-0, you never know. Still a long way to go.
No, there is, again, and it does give them a lifeline, and you just don't know, that could maybe give them a little lift, give them a little lift that they are still in the game.
Tavernier picks up on the far side, beaten Montano, gets it back from Dessers. Good link-up play again. Here's Tavernier, the right angle of the box. He wants a handball, free kick at the edge of the area. He's not getting one. The howls of derision from the Rangers supporters for the decision by Don Robertson there. And in the 24th minute, Rangers leading by a goal to 0. Having just had that, Cifuentes 1, ruled out after a VAR check. Here's Raskan, infield to Lammers, whose goal was not ruled out. It's this dink ball looking for Raskan. Devlin sees it behind for the goal kick, and it's Rangers 1, Livingston 0 here at Ibrox.
Yeah, listen, it hit Montano on the hand, but like it's hit off his foot and came straight up and hit him on the hand. It's not a handball. You just need to get on with it and keep playing. They won the ball back anyway, Rangers, through Raskin, and again he's drove forward. You can just get over it.
Aaron Muirhead has pulled one back for Morton, having been 2-0 down to goals from Hamilton and Vaughan at Starks Park. Wraith Rovers 2, Morton 1 in the other games with goals. Ayr leading Cally Thistle 1-0 in Queen's Park, are 1-0 up on Arbroath. In the Premiership, St Mirren 1, Dundee 0, 1-0 Rangers here against Livy. Montrose 1-0 up at Annan in League 1, Edinburgh City 1-0 up at home to Queen of the South. And still no goals in League 2 so far. Long way to go. Free kick Rangers inside the centre circle. Lammers to take. Little short ball back to Raskan, and now it's Cantwell. Forward to Danilo, out to Barisic on this near side. Back to Danilo it goes. Challenged well there by DeLucas. And it comes back into the Rangers half and out for a Rangers throw-in, which will be taken by Todd Cantwell momentarily. So he goes back to Balogun, who was a bit part player at QPR, 16 appearances last season. He's a vastly experienced player though, 46 caps for Nigeria, former Hannover, Werder Bremen. And of course he had that successful first spell at Rangers, won a couple of medals as Rangers come down the right with Cifuentes. Cutting infield, the edge of the box, the right angle to Dessers, to Lammers, breaks back into the box for Dessers here, pulls it across, cut out by Devlin, Rangers corner.
Brilliant play again to Cifuentes. I think that's where he's a little bit different to maybe the midfielders that Rangers already have. He has a bit more all action. He's found himself out there on the right flank and combining with Dessers that leads to the corner. He seems to be that all action type midfielder, box to box, that is going to make forward runs. He is going to try and get in the box and make things happen.
Borna Barisic to take an in-swinging left-footed corner from the right-hand side, bends it into the 6-yard area. Devlin doesn't get much on it. Livy managed to bundle it clear. Tavernier for Cifuentes, plays it off Nubly, and he's brought down by Cifuentes, and that will be a free kick to Livy, just outside their own box. 26 played, Rangers 1, Livingston 0. Rangers off to Switzerland for that game on Tuesday evening against Servette. They lead 2-1 from the first leg. The winner's likely to play PSV Eindhoven, who beat Sturm Graz 4-1 on Tuesday evening. In Kenny, I noticed Malik Tillman signing for PSV Eindhoven on loan from Bayern Munich a couple of days ago.
Yeah, it is. It's an interesting little twist to that potential tie in the playoff round. Again, a repeat of last year's playoff round. I mean, I must say PSV looked very, very good the other night against Sturm Graz. Looked a little bit a tougher proposition if Rangers can manage to navigate their way past Servette and face PSV again. And like it says, that adds a real twist to it with Malik Tillman. The one thing's for sure, you'll know exactly what he's going to be bringing, and maybe the Rangers midfield will be thinking about running off him and not really worrying too much about what he'll do on the ball.
Yeah, we await to see if Rangers can get the job done on Tuesday evening. Full coverage across BBC Scotland, including here on Sportsound. Balogun forward towards Danilo, sliding challenge, puts it out for a throw-in from Obalai. It's Barisic who takes the throw to Lammers. Now it's Barisic, he's under pressure from Brandon, goes back to Balogun, forward onto the chest to Danilo, out wide for Lammers. Cleared though by Obalai as it was returned towards Danilo. Bouncing ball in the halfway line, which is hooked forward by Balogun, breaks Shinnie's way, but he can only pass it straight back to Jack Butland, the Rangers goalkeeper, and it will stay Rangers 1, Livingston 0.
Yeah, as much as Livingston with Joel Newbley up top, he has a handful of things. They've not really kind of made too much of any attack so far. It's been complete dominance for Rangers so far, and any time they do go forward, Livingston players don't look like they're that up for actually making a run forward to support Joel Newbley. Him and Stephen Kelly are kind of up there on their own against 4, 5, 6 Rangers players. So at this moment in time, Livingston not able to kind of find a way to trouble Rangers battling. Rangers on about 75% possession right now. They've had 3 shots on target. Livingston yet to register. As Danilo finds Cantwell level with the Livy 6-yard line. Cantwell chopped to the ground, no free kick. It's going to be a throw in only to Livingston on this near side. Certainly in the set there was 2 challenges there on Cantwell. The first one won the ball, the second one
took Cantwell alone, and that's when he hit the deck. No free kick though, says Don Robertson.
Yeah, listen, maybe it was a free kick, but it's good energy for the Livingston players. I mean, he's got a defender behind him, but you've got the other player back pressing to try and come back and win the ball as well. So he's going to have to just deal with that a lot, Todd Cantwell, because he's someone who's made a lot of headlines since he's came up to the league, both with his play, but also some of the antics and some of the situations he's found himself in.
Suter for Rangers, again the cross fielder for Barisic, and for the third time he's found him. Infield to Danilo, on the turn just squaring the ball to Cifuentes, out to Tavernier, approaching the half-hour mark at Ibrox. Here's Lammers, Rangers with a 1-0 lead. Lammers to Barisic, taking on Brandon stands his ground, no free kick. You see, just seemed to me as though Barisic ran into Brandon there. It was good defending there by the Livy right wing back.
Yeah, it was strong defending. No Jamie Welford, a young lad at Rangers, always gives you everything he's got, the young lad.
And that spell at Hearts, didn't he? As Shinnie picks up, threads it forward towards Stephen Kelly, well read by Balogun, who blocks it. Almost worked out favourably for Lammers inside the Livingston half. Instead Livingston get it away, and it's Stephen Kelly chipping it into the centre circle for Shinnie, who goes down again. No free kick.
I think Don Robertson's lost his whistle, Liam.
He's letting it go, isn't he? Yeah, he's letting things go. It's Cantwell arches the ball back into the centre circle for Raskan. At walking pace, out to the right hand side for Tavernier. Infield for Cifuentes. Left footed disguised ball forward. Cantwell read it, but it's headed clear by DeLucas. Picked up by Shinnie. Comes across the halfway line. Barisic and the pressure on, but it's now with Newbley. Lovely cut and field by Joel Newbley. Stephen Kelly was in a good position. He's got it to Stephen Kelly. He's at the edge of the penalty area. Kelly looking for some space. Back to Newbley. He can only poke it forward, and Butland will get on to that. Was really promising from Livy's point of view between Newbley and Stephen Kelly. It looked as though they were going to make more of it than they ultimately did, and it stays Rangers 1, Livingston 0.
Yeah, Joel Newbley just looked like he was absolutely spent there. He had put a lot into the move to try and get up to that area on the edge of Rangers box, and when it fell to him, he just looked absolutely spent. He had no energy left to do things, but they got themselves in a real promising position with Stephen Kelly on the edge of the box there. You had Montano coming on the overlap on the left hand side. He maybe been better served just releasing him to then maybe put a cross in or even get a shot off. First real attack we've seen probably for Livingston with numbers forward.
Kenny was mentioning before kick-off about the fact Livingston's form tailed off dramatically last season away from home. Currently, going back into last season, obviously, they've lost their last 8 successive away league games without scoring a single goal. There's the crux of the problem. The last goals away from home were, I think it was January against St Johnstone when they scored 4.
Well, there you go. That's the stat then, because if you're not picking up points, again, this is when you're not playing Rangers and Celtic every week as well. So if you're not able to score goals, a fine way to get points away from home. It can then obviously then leak into your home form as well if you're on a bad run. So that was it. I mean, you seen at the end of the season, like you say, from probably that moment onward, Livingston just really fell away.
Raskan gives it away, and Holt is fouled by Barisic. Livingston have a free kick, an opportunity perhaps to swing the ball into the Rangers box from this right hand side. 32 on the clock.
And these will be the situations that David Martindale have been waiting on. Brilliant play for Jason Holt. He read the pass for Raskin, cut it out, and then drives forward from that deeper position that he's sitting in, and he buys the free kick. He gets the touch, goes down, it is a free kick, and it gives Livingston a chance to put the ball in, get the big lads up and go and test the Rangers backline. Something they've not done too often in this first 32 minutes.
A Lion goal as Partick Thistle 1-0 up at Airdrieonians in the Championship. 2-0 Montrose now at Annan. Still no goals in League 2. What's going on? Free kick Livingston here. Stephen Kelly over it. One man Rangers wall of Danilo. Throng of players around about the edge of the D. In comes the free kick, headed away. Only half clear as Holt hits it from the edge of the box where it's high and wide. Goal kick Rangers. 1-0 to Rangers at Ibrox. Livingston couldn't make the most of the free kick opportunity. And the thing is, when you come here, your set plays are crucial if you're the visiting team.
No, they are, and I think for Livingston, when you can see the size of the 3 centre backs going over, if you put Joel Newbley and Montano into that as well, they should be a threat. It was a good ball in, you know, it was dealt with well. I think it was Desser back there again. It shows the value of him even back there.
Misjudged by Sangare. It's now with Cantwell for Rangers to Lammers. First time from Dessers, looking for Cantwell. Then clear by Obalai into the stand down below us. Throw in Rangers, taken quickly. Barisic to Lammers. Looks up, left-footed ball into the box. Clear by Obalai. Stephen Kelly reacts first and he puts it out of play for another Rangers throw-in. This time a bit level with the edge of the D of the Livy box. Main stand side again, Barisic, but play stops because Sangare's hurt himself, I think, in his attempt to get to the ball just a moment ago when he completely misjudged it. He's ended up pulling something. 11 minutes to half time, and it looks as though Mohamed Sangare, who was brought in the summer after a year at Accrington Stanley, will be worked on by the medical team, and some of the players taking advantage of the stoppage to come over and take on some fluids. And Davy Martindale having a word with some of his players down below us, because it's crucial for his team now that they don't concede again. They were given a let-off when the Cifuentes goal was ruled out for a handball.
Yeah, and there've been other situations where they've had to defend pretty well. I mean, again, I'll go back to, Rangers have got a lot of attacking talent in Danilo and Lammers and Dessers, but Cantwell's the one that brings it all together. He's the one that gets really in beyond and in support of that, but not just for his energy to actually do it and the tempo in which he does it. It does free up his teammates. He was unfortunate there in the link up with Dessers not to get through and goal. It was just a bit too much on the pass from Dessers. But again, it's been a positive 35 minutes for Rangers, that's for sure. After last week losing this game, it's not easy always to play in front of the Ibrox crowd when things are everything's not rosy in the garden. But what they've done is they've turned up today, they've showed a good energy, they've got themselves in front, and if anything, they're the team that's looking like to add into that lead, other than Livingston getting back into it.
There were only 5 teams last season who avoided defeat here. PSV Eindhoven, Napoli, Liverpool, Ajax and Livingston. Celtic and Hearts managed draws, but they lost in their other visits. And Sangare's going to come back on, and Don Robertson just drops the ball for Barisic. Now Cantwell in the final 10 minutes of the first half here. Lammers back to Rascan. Cifuentes can't control as it breaks Montagno's way now with Shinnie to Devlin. Chip ball with the left foot up towards Newbley, holds it up so well. It's absolutely brilliant.
He's such a big lad as well. For a defender being behind it, it's probably hard to actually see round him and see where the ball's coming in, but he does it ever so well.
Yeah, they've made a mess of it though, as it broke Sangare's way. A dreadful ball out towards Brandon on this near side, and after all Joel Newbley's hard work, Livingston surrender possession so timidly as Cantwell plays it to the right of the D of his own box for Suter. Along the deck out to Cifuentes on the right, onto the touchline for Tavernier, just on the halfway line as well. He goes back to Suter, who goes back to Butland, and it's a short ball from he to Balogun. Balogun taking it up towards the halfway line, rolls it forward to Danilo, under pressure from Holt, back into his own half to Balogun, and now it's with Rascan. Short ball to his right for Cifuentes. Rangers looking for a second here. Out to Tavernier, his cross comes in and no takers. Did all he could, the Rangers captain. I think he's asking the question, why is nobody sticking their head on that, as that came flying around about the 6-yard line area.
And I think he's quite right to ask the question, Liam, because he's got himself into the area that you've seen James Tavernier numerous times over the years, and he's put the ball exactly where you would want as a striker, and there was 4 players in the box. Someone should have been covering that area of the pitch.
Zone to be taken by DeLucas for Livingston, deep inside his own half, onto the knee though only of Cantwell, who tried to keep it in play but doesn't manage it in the end. It'll be a throw in to Livy on this near side. We approach 38 minutes. St Mirren, remember, 1-0 up on Dundee. A Shaughnessy own goal, and I believe Zach Robinson has failed from the penalty spot in that game to equalise for Dundee down the road in Paisley, so it remains 1-0 to St Mirren. Leeds for Partick Thistle, Ayr United, Queen's Park and Raith Rovers in the Championship, for Montrose, for Edinburgh City in League One. And according to what I'm seeing in front of me, still no breakthrough in League Two, as Rangers collect with Suter. To come tomorrow, Aberdeen Celtic midday, Motherwell Hibs, Hearts Kilmarnock at 3. Full coverage on Sportsound. Servette Rangers Tuesday, Luzerne Hibs and Hearts Rosenborg on Thursday. Barisic for Rangers, onto this near side touchline for Cantwell, who's fouled by Brandon. And a free kick to Rangers on this near side, about level with the edge of the centre circle. It's just massively crucial to Livingston that they don't concede again before half time, as Ross County take the lead against St Johnstone and Dingwall. So goals in all 3 Premiership matches this afternoon. Highlights on Sports Scene this evening from 7:30 on the BBC Scotland channel. Lammers driving forward, blocked by Devlin. They want handball at the edge of the box, no free kick. Here come Rangers again. Cantwell just overhits his pass for Tavernier, and it goes behind for the goal kick to Livy. But again, it's well worked by Rangers. The dancing Cantwell trying to work space, and couldn't quite pick out the skipper. And confirmation that it's Kyle Turner, the man Ross County brought in from Partick Thistle in the summer, who's got their goal. So Ross County 1, St Johnstone 0, and the worries continue for Stephen McLean and the Perth Sainties.
Yeah, it's not been a good start for Stephen this season with the League Cup campaign, and now down for the second week in a row. By all accounts, we're in the game last week against Hearts.
Oh, they were. I was watching it coming in, and they were. I think the 2 or 3 really good chances. Liam Gordon in particular will be lamenting a free header when the goal was gaping for him.
Yeah, again, but they're against one of the best teams in the league in Hearts, who I think will be right up there challenging for third to be best of the rest at the end of the season. So it'll be a disappointing result, particularly at home, and after that Stirling Albion game as well. So still plenty time today to try and salvage a result, because that would be any kind of result going up to Dingwall would be a positive one for Stephen.
Rangers have a goal kick to be taken by Butland. We're in the final 5 minutes of the first half here at Ibrox. It's the small pocket of Livingston supporters over in the Govan West corner over there. Cantwell trying to work it into the path of Danilo on the near side. Danilo's onto it. Brandon's sticking with him though. The Rangers fans don't like the fact Jamie Brandon clearly had some of Danilo's jersey there, and it has been brought back for the free kick. And I think the Rangers fans want some more punishment meted out to Jamie Brandon there. You do, when you see that kind of cynical professional foul, see an automatic yellow card, but it's just a warning for the Livingston right wing back.
Listen, it was a rash. He was all over doing it. He did not want to allow him to turn and face him up and get at him. I must say, Danilo has looked a little bit sharper today. He's looked like he's the kind of maybe rustiness that maybe was shown on Wednesday night is maybe starting to dissipate out of his game, because he was in some really good situations on Wednesday night. He just never took advantage of them.
Yeah, he was a title winner at Feyenoord. In fact, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, who's a legend at Feyenoord as much as he is here as well as a player, and indeed led Rangers to the Scottish Cup as a manager. Van Bronckhorst was actually one of the guys who handed over the trophy, or the plate as it is in the Eredivisie, and the winners' medals I think as well, to Danilo and his Feyenoord teammates. Need a big part to play last season. He scored 14 times, 20 starts, 14 goals. He set another 4 up as well. So I think the Rangers hierarchy view it as a bit of a coup being able to bring him here.
He's certainly the one player I think once he came in that you'd expected to really make the difference. I think there was questions around a lot of the signings, but when you've seen the pedigree and, like you say, a title winning striker coming in, and he got a decent number of goals considering the starts, you were expecting him to be like the main man and really make a difference in this Rangers attack.
Barisic looking for Cantwell as he chases it left hand side of the box, where he's fouled Brandon, says the referee. So Livy man hits the deck, and that's going to be a free kick to Livingston. Todd Cantwell, he's becoming embroiled in quite the battle with Jamie Brandon on this near side. Brandon's actually been getting stuck in 2 or 3 of the Rangers players, and I guess, look, at the end of the day, he's come here to play as well, Jamie Brandon, as Livingston have, and
he'll thrive on it, Liam.
But he's more than entitled to give it some, isn't he?
You know, and it was a free kick when Todd Cantwell pushed him. You know, he pushed him down in the back as he got the position on him. So he's, Jamie, this is the type of game that he'll thrive in. You know, because he's an all-action player. He'll give you everything he's got, and he wants to be really, really aggressive when he's defending.
He had a groin injury last season that limited him to just 9 appearances, so he is eager to make up for lost time. It's Lammers to Barisic, midway inside his own half. He goes back to his keeper. We've played 43 and a half, so edging ever closer to half-time here at Ibrox. It's with Suter, who goes back to Raskan. 1-0 leads for the three home teams in the Premiership so far. There's a long ball for Rangers up to the edge of the Livy box, comes off the head of Obalai, looking for Brandon, who slices at fresh air. It's now with Danilo for Barisic, blocked by Brandon, and out for a Rangers throw-in on this near side. Davy Martindale was here the other night. Rangers started today well, they got their goal, could have had a second. Cifuentes adjudged to have used an arm to control before lashing home the second. It was ruled out, so he'll be hoping that Rangers come off the boil in the second half, and it might just give his team a squeak at getting something out of this game.
That's exactly what we'll be hoping for, just to stay in the game, because I think even at 1-0, if it gets to an hour mark, 65 minutes, the Rangers fans will be demanding more, and that's where the kind of atmosphere can turn a little bit, and it can affect these Rangers players, and at that point he can maybe capitalise on that negative energy. So they need to stay in the game though, because it's been a completely dominant performance for Rangers.
It really has. You've almost had exclusivity of the ball. Suter finds Cifuentes midway inside the Livingston half, out to the right for Tavernier, back to Suter, along the deck to Cantwell, first time out to Cifuentes, first time back to Suter, Suter to Cifuentes, to Raskan, right of the centre circle, and he rolls it to his left for Balogun. 3 minutes have been added on at the end. There was the injury to Sungari, as well as the VAR check for the goal that was disallowed. Rangers giving it away, but winning it back through Raskan in double quick time. Here's Cifuentes. Tavernier makes his usual trademark run down the right, controls and then crosses. A good one, and Dessers heads over from the angle of the 6-yard box. Well worked by Rangers, and once again James Tavernier a constant threat down that right hand side. He's on point with his deliveries this afternoon. That one, Dessers met it, just glanced over the bar, and it stays Rangers 1, Livy 0.
Yeah, he's done everything right, Dessers, in terms of his movement. He's got across the centre back, he's read the cross. James Tavernier again puts it into the right area. He's just looking to just get ever so slightly and glance it towards the back post. He gets too much on it, goes over the bar, but it's another half chance for Dessers.
Got his first goal for the club against Servette the other night, did Cyril Dessers. Lammer's got his first for the club today, and that's the difference at the moment on the scoreline, but this has been utter domination from the home team so far. Still plenty time to go. Bonnyrigg Rose have taken the lead against Clyde, the first and only goal so far in League 2 this afternoon. 3-0 Montrose now away at Annan. Edinburgh City have a 1-0 lead over Queen of the South. It's goalless in the other 3 games in League 1. Championship leads for Partick Thistle, Ayr United, Queen's Park and Raith Rovers. No goals between Dundee United and Dunfermline. Leads for the home teams in the Premiership as Newbley's flagged offside. I thought, going by his reaction, he was in there, albeit Balogun, although he's in the veteran stage of his career, he's not the quickest, but I think he's probably quick enough to stay with Newbley.
And there might be a collector's item there as well, a linesman flagging early because he might have been obviously offside,
which is great to see. Here is Balogun. We're in first half stoppage time here at Ibrox, and it's Danilo on the near side. We're into the third of 3 minutes that were added. Pass from Danilo's cut out by Sungari. Seems to be struggling a little bit. Wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't come out for the second half.
Yeah, it's been a couple of situations he's found himself in. He's not moving great, particularly when the ball goes beyond him. His reactions to run back, he's clearly carrying something.
He was given medical treatment earlier in the first half. Hence the 3 minutes that have been added. Suter finds Tavernier down the right for Sam Lammers, up against Montagno, trying to spin and twist his way around the Colombian. And eventually moves it into Raskan, to Tavernier on the stretch, couldn't quite work it to Lammers as Don Robertson sounds the half-time whistle at Ibrox, and Rangers have a lead. At the break, Sam Lammers with an early goal for them. His first for the club came on 10 minutes after good work by Cantwell, and Dessers broke Lammers' way, and he made no mistake as he thundered the effort into the top left corner to give Rangers the lead. A lead they thought they'd doubled 12 minutes later. Cifuentes from the corner. After the VAR check though by Don Robertson and Stephen McLean, it was ruled out. Dessers with a header just before half-time and first half injury time, in fact, heading over from a Tavernier ball. Rangers have seen so much possession in that first half, though, around about 74-75% of it. So very much in charge here, but with a wafer-thin lead, half-time at Ibrox. Rangers 1, Livingston 0.
You know, they don't
have
2-0.
2-0 to St Mirren. It was a corner kick thrown in from the left-hand side. It was Boyd Munce with the corner, and Mikael Manderon with a run to the front post, flicks it on, goes in at the back post. 2-0 right before half-time for the home side.
Yeah, it's a good header, good delivery, Michael, but as you say, brilliant run across that front post and to flick it and keep the power on the ball, and direct it towards that opposite end of the goal. Top drawer.
You can't help but just think, terrible missed opportunity for Dundee. I said it, just a couple of minutes ago there, that St Mirren are not going to gift up too many opportunities. I didn't think it was going to be 2-0 at half-time, but certainly you know that this home side, when you have a chance, you've got to take it. Missed it. Big miss from the penalty spot for Robinson, and now they're 2-0 down at half-time.
Yeah, that's a really sore one for Tony Dockett. I know, again, St Mirren almost a sell among the home support. They have very few tickets left. They're really getting behind their team. No wonder. Top 6 finish. They're through in their League Cup group, and what a performance, what a result, Tom English, through Easter Road last Sunday.
Yeah, listen, they're out there, and they've picked up where they left off last season. 2-0, good value for it. Great header. Really brilliant header. Not just the run, the alertness, but the execution of the finish is brilliant. They're in a rich vein of form.
Yeah, Manderon with the goal there, 2-0 right on the stroke of half-time. Still playing at Tannadice, Willie?
Yeah, we have had about half a dozen head knocks, a lot of stoppages in this game. We're still playing. The rain has come on. There's still nothing to report in terms of goal-mouth incidents.
Come on, cheer him up, Tom. Come on.
Willie, as a matter of interest, these head knocks, did players leave the pitch to be examined, or what happened?
It's half-time here at St Mirren. 2-0.
Thanks, Michael.
Some of them did and some of them didn't, Tom. It was a bit of a mixed bag. And it's absolutely pouring down now. And Dundee United, maybe with a late opportunity, as Tony Watt clips it to the back post. But again, oh my goodness, the rain is quite incredible. Coming down. Can you hear it in the background?
I hope you're not getting wet, Willie. You're a man of your age. You can catch your death.
I might never recover. Me and Czech in a box. How's that?
I tell you, it makes Reverend I Am Jolly sound.
You've got to be fair. Last season, he was loving it. He was loving life, particularly the end of the season.
He was
very good form. He had a dreadful game last week.
I'm going to sprinkle some magic dust on this game.
Yes, Chuck?
Half-time at Excelsior Stadium. It's 1-0 to Partick Thistle, with the first half blighted by that injury to Rhys McCabe.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get an update. I know Chick will speak, well, he's certainly planning on speaking to both managers. Whether Rhys McCabe is available to do that, we shall see later on, but we'll get an update on how
half-time,
he is
Kenny,
feeling.
Goalless at Tannadice.
Good stuff. Thank you to Willie Miller. It's been an eventful first half across Scottish football. Half-time reports to come right here on Sports Sound on BBC Radio Scotland.
On digital radio,
FM,
online at BBC Sports Scotland,
your smart speaker,
and BBC Sounds.
This is Sports Sound from BBC Radio Scotland.
Scottish football lives here.
I'll go through all the half-time scores for you in a couple of minutes' time. Let's then get to our commentary game at Ibrox. Rangers against Livingston. There for us, Rory Loy, and our match commentator, Liam McLeod.
Yeah, and Rangers have the lead at the interval. Total domination in that first half. Sam Lammers with the only strike of the game, his first for the club, and he took it really well after really excellent build-up play between Cantwell and Dessers. They teed up Lammers, who smashed it home. And that coming on 10 minutes. Rangers just wave after wave of attack from that point. Cifuentes had a shot saved by Shamal George, went behind for the corner, and from that corner Cifuentes found the net, thought he'd scored his first Rangers goal, but after a VAR check between the referee Don Robertson and Stephen McLean, it was ruled out. It just kind of rolled down his arm just before he smashed it home. Took it well actually, but it didn't count. Dessers with a header just before the break. Good play by Tavernier down the right. Cross found him. He flicked it just over the crossbar. So that means Rangers have the lead, Rory, at the interval, and Livingston. Occasionally you see Joel Newbley making a nuisance of himself, but generally speaking, Rangers well worth their lead here.
Yeah, they're well worth the lead in terms of possession. I think they would have liked to carve open a few more opportunities. I don't think they've blown anyone away, but they're comfortable in the game is what I would say. However, at 1-0, it only takes a corner or a set piece for Livingston to get right back in it. They haven't really threatened offensively, Liam. They've had one corner, which was a good run by Newbley. It was easily cleared by Rangers in the end, but they are well worth the lead, and you've controlled the game from the start of the game to half time, but just think they need a little bit more from their number 9, their forward, Dessers. He needs to take the ball in, make better decisions when he's got it. He's given the ball away, and I think that's resulting in it breaking down quite a lot. So it'll be interesting to see how long Michael Beale gives him, because he's got options on the bench now. Danilo's flirted in and out of the game, and so is Lammers. Took his goal really well, but other than that, Rangers worth their lead, but far from convincing at times, I would say.
Half-time at Ibrox, Rangers 1, Livy 0.
Thank you to Liam McLeod and to Rory Loy. The option of open all mics or full second half commentary to come from Ibrox. For now though, a choice of listening once again for full commentary of Rangers against Livingston. Tune to BBC Radio Scotland on digital, Radio Scotland Extra on BBC Sounds and 810 medium wave. And for open all mics, choose BBC Sounds and 92 to 95 FM.
All the action.
What a moment! From all the biggest games.
This is Sports Sound.
Oh, it's a goal!
From BBC Radio Scotland.
Another goal!
Welcome back to listeners who are tuned into the first half at Ibrox earlier on, here on 810 medium wave, on Extra, online and on digital. Rangers 1, Livingston 0. The second half about to start here. Livy do, in fact, get it back underway. Sangari has gone off at the interval and has been replaced by Curtis Guthrie, who dropped out of the starting 11. So Livy kicking off, going right to left, wearing the all yellow with black flashes. Rangers in the blue shirts, white shorts, black socks with the red tops, will shoot towards the Copeland Road end. Left to right in the second half. Butland in goal. Tavernier, Balogun, Suter, Barisic, Raskan, Cifuentes and Cantwell, Lammers, Dessers and Danilo. For Livy, George in goal, De Lucas, Obalai, Devlin, Brandon and Montagno. It's Holt and Shinnie with Kelly in the middle, and Guthrie will support Joel Newbley up front. It's the first change of the game. It's Rangers in possession, Dessers. Under pressure from De Lucas, finds Cifuentes back the way. Now to the left of the D, it's Cantwell. Out to Barisic, cross in. Lammers header across the face of goal and wide. Well, Shamal George hasn't even bothered diving for that. So if that's on target for the bottom corner, Rangers are 2-0 up, but it stays at 1 because Lammers is off target.
And it's a brilliant build, a brilliant move. Cifuentes was at the heart of it. He found Dessers. Cifuentes got it back. He switched the play to Cantwell, who released Barisic. It wasn't Barisic's greatest cross, but it found the head of Lammers about 8 yards out, maybe in line with the front post. And he's tried to just find the back post and guide it towards there, and he's just not got enough on it. Really, really good chance inside the first minute of the second half for Rangers.
Cove Rangers have gone 1-0 up relatively early in the second half of that game. They're a bit ahead of us. Cove Rangers 1, Falkirk 0 in League One. The first goal of the second halves. There's Rangers in possession here with Danilo. Slips it through there to Lammers. Chip ball looking for Dessers, who's chasing after it, but it's too close to Shamal George, who holds on 47th. Rangers leading by a goal to 0. Ross County have doubled their lead early in the second half of that game. So St Johnstone 2 behind, having gone in at the break, 1 down. Problem just got a whole lot bigger in Dingwall for them, as Newbley holds it up, goes down under pressure from Balogun, and then a foul by Cantwell over on the far side on Brandon. They're at it again, those two, and it's going to be a free kick to Livy over there a couple of yards from that far side touchline. And David Martindale, he won't have been happy to be behind at the break, but he'll have been happy that it's just 1-0, because it's a scoreline that gives his team so much to play for in the second half.
And so much potentially from these types of situations, Liam. You've got a chance. Look, Stephen Kelly's over the ball and everybody's been loaded into the box there. All the big lads are forward for Livingston.
Kelly waits to take, right footed. Chip ball's headed away by the first man, Barisic though. Breaks to Holt. He's going to try and lift it back out to Kelly on the far side. He's found him, he controls it, he knocks it down the line with the right foot, and then Newbley just glances off his chest and behind for the goal kick, and it stays Rangers 1, Livy 0.
Yeah, it wasn't a good ball into Stephen Kelly. He's better than that. He should have been finding that kind of area in between the goalkeeper and the back line of Rangers to let his players go attack it. He just got it all wrong.
Cifuentes for Rangers, right of the centre circle, finds Tavernier, long ball with the right foot, looking for Cyril Dessers. He's in behind, but just bobbles and bounces away from him, and it's right through to Shamal George, who holds on, and it stays Rangers 1, Livingston 0. Connor Randall got the goal for Ross County that's made it 2-0 against St Johnstone. He's back with Shamal George. He scored his first ever professional goal, Connor Randall, in the League Cup groups this season, and he's not had to wait long for number 2 to arrive. Ross County 2, St Johnstone 0. 2-0 to St Mirren along the road from where we are, and Rangers with a 1-0 lead. So it's the home teams all coming out on top as it stands in this afternoon's Premiership games. 3 today, 3 tomorrow. Cantwell flicks it on, he's done really well into the path of Danilo, who's driving forward towards the Livingston box. Danilo is inside the area, he shoots and brings the save out of George, and it breaks Dessers' ways away from Montagno, right hand side of the box. Dessers to the byline, pulls it back, and Lammers off target again. At what cost, incidentally, was that brilliant ball from Todd Cantwell, who is lying injured inside his own half after, I don't know how he managed to contort his body the way he did. He's very good at it, to be fair. We've seen it in the past. He was able to force it into the path of Danilo, who raced in on goal and was denied by George with the save. But Cantwell appears to have done some damage in the process.
Yeah, he does. I mean, again, I think the Livingston players weren't too happy about it, because he's put his boot away up in and around the Livingston player's head, but he's got something on it to set Danilo on his way, who then went and got his shot off. But it was great play for Dessers to retrieve the rebound off the Shamal George save, drove all the way in towards the goal and cut it back to Lammers, who again, I don't know how he's not got enough on that shot to put it in the goal. It seemed like another fantastic opportunity for the second goal for Rangers, and again, Lammers again on the end of it.
It was good build-up play, but this is a worry for Michael Beale.
And it doesn't look too much in it either, Liam, so that's never a good sign.
Well, we wait and see. Yanis Hadji's doing a bit of a warm-up on the touchline down below us in front of the main stand. He would be the replacement for Cantwell. And we mentioned Cantwell certainly gave Rangers a different dimension against Servette here on Wednesday, and he's been at the forefront of most of the good attacking play that we've seen from Rangers this afternoon so far. He's just being helped back to his feet just now, but is he going to be able to continue? He's walking very gingerly, you would have to say, Kenny.
Yeah, he is. Again, I've seen it a couple of times now. It's hard to actually see what's wrong. It must be the way he's landed as he was falling down after he's kind of put his boot away up there and he's turned round. There was contact with the Livingston player and it maybe helped him on his way there, but it didn't look too much in it. Hopefully, again, he looks like he might be lining up to come back on. Hopefully it's nothing too serious.
He is coming back on. For how long though? We shall wait and see.
Just got to run it off, Liam. Run it off.
Some are better at doing that than others, I would have thought. He's on the ball here, and it looks okay.
Yeah, it looks fine.
And he's lost out in the midfield. Here's Andrew Shinnie up against Cifuentes, forced back into his own half, and he's forced to roll it all the way back to his goalkeeper. The edge of his box. Long right-footed ball forward there by Shamal George, who's conceded his first goal this season. He'd 4 clean sheets from his 4 matches. In the game they did concede in against Hamilton, the League Cup group stage, it was Jack Hamilton who was in goal for them. Montagno picks up away from Cifuentes, rolling it out towards Newbley, but it's well read by Tavernier, who wins it back for Rangers at the edge of his own box. Finds Lammers, who goes back to his own area for Suter, and then out to Raskan, who clips it forward. It comes off the head of Dessers, straight to Stephen Kelly. Raskan picks up. Joel Newbley thinks he used a hand to control that. The referee was in a good position, disagrees, as it breaks Shinnie's way in the midfield again, and once more he sweeps it back to his goalkeeper. Approaching 53 here at Ibrox. Rangers 1, Livingston 0. It's with Stephen Kelly. Comes back to the goalkeeper again. Livy just trying to get a feel of the ball as well, because they only had about 25% of the possession in that first half. It's not quite a stranger to them, but they want to string some passes together, get some confidence.
Well, they need to try and find a bit of momentum in the game.
Brandon has it, low ball into the penalty area, is cleared by Suter. Livingston corner, right in front of those Livy fans who are split up in all areas of the away corner over on that far side, but this corner will be taken right in front of them.
And that was good play from Livingston. They're trying to ball through Holt and Shinnie, who are dropping in to try and get on the ball. But what they do have in Guthrie and Newbley is two good targets, and they put it forward there. Newbley lays it off and they get into a crossing area. Brandon tries to pick Newbley back out around about the penalty spot. John Suter has to deal with it, and it's a corner. These are the chances that Livingston have to capitalise on.
Outswinging delivery coming from Stephen Kelly. Swirls into the Rangers box, headed away by Balogun. It's only half clear. Shinnie's efforts deflected. Butland forced to make the save. Chasing after it's Montano, but Cifuentes gets there. Jack Butland forced into action really for the first time this afternoon. And Livingston testing the Rangers goalkeeper. Shinnie's effort definitely took a touch on its way through, and Butland was kind of scrambling there. Stays 1-0 Rangers.
Yeah, because it was going well wide and it just catches the Shinnie Lammers and directs it. It was going to get the inside of Jack Butland's post, that's for sure, so it needed to be alive to make the save.
Montano on the near side, down by the corner flag. His ball in is cut out by Rascan. Now Dessers loses it to Shinnie. Shinnie at the edge of the box, he shoots, and Butland has to save again to put it behind for the corner, past that right hand post. Might have been swerving wide in any case, but Butland didn't know that, and it's going to be another Livingston corner. By far their best period of attacking play in the match.
Yeah, it has been. They've got Rangers pinned in at the moment. I must say Rangers played a little part of their own downfall, maybe trying to play in the areas too tight where there's a lot of bodies for Livingston, but Shinnie anticipated it really, really well there, and I think it was just going wide.
Kelly, low corner this time, helped on its way by DeLucas, now breaks to Guthrie. Guthrie then back out wide right for Kelly, loops the cross ball in, headed away convincingly by John Suter. And that's given away by Shinnie. He's given it straight to Danilo, and from Livingston's best attacking period of the game, their manager's the head in his hands. Here come Rangers. Danilo for Dessers, loses out as Livy funnel back, and DeLucas picks up. What a chance that was for Rangers. They were 3-on-1 at one point. And now it's Newbley through for Montano. He's overhit the pass though, and it breaks to Butland. Montano was in an onside position there if he managed to find him.
He absolutely was, man. It's end-to-end stuff. Like you say, Livingston with a brilliant moment, and then just a really slack pass for Shinnie sent Rangers away 3-on-2, but they done good. Jamie Brandon defended it really, really well.
Cifuentes with the cross. Danilo heads it back, and Dessers' effort is deflected high over the bar. And now he's wondering how he's not scored. I think Io Opalai's got in the way of that.
Well, he absolutely has. His foot part of his anatomy has got in the way of that, because Dessers is hoping for a handball. I mean, really, he should be bursting the net with this. It's 7 yards out, 8 yards out. I mean, to be fair to the Livingston defenders, it's not only Obalai. I think is it maybe Devlin as well.
Yeah, I wasn't sure which one of the two it was.
No, it's no handball. He's blocked that with his leg. It's a brilliant block from Obalai, because that is a certain goal for Dessers. And it's like you just hear the Rangers fans getting on his back for the last attack and then the sloppy layoff. But what a chance to go and put Rangers 2-0 up for Dessers. But end-to-end stuff here at Ibrox. Really exciting game.
I'm not sure Dessers could have done much more with that. There's two players down, one from each side inside the Rangers box meantime. Not sure who it is. It's it's out of sight for us. There's players in the way as well over there.
I'm looking at the boys who are up and standing. It looks like it might be Danilo. It must be down, because I can see everyone else, I think. Yeah, there's Lammers and
Livy
Dessers.
have a man down as well. And
Livy's, Livy.
It's Brandon.
Yep, Jamie Brandon. Listen, he defended that counter-attack situation so well. Firstly, to actually get back in and then deal with the 1v1 to Dessers, who was looking to chops inside, and he defended it really well. And then he was in the back post. It was Danilo who knocked it down for Dessers, and then and Jamie Brandon was there. So maybe there's been a head knock or something as the ball was crossed to the back post there.
Certainly been the most exciting period of the match as the action raged from one end to the other.
It was. I mean, chances at both ends. Really good all started with a sloppy layoff of Dessers actually, that Shinnie robbed him and anticipated it really well. Had a wonderful effort at the goal, albeit it was probably just creeping wide. Jack Burden needed to make a save, or he felt he needed to make a save, and then from an Andrew Shinnie sloppy pass, it just looked Rangers were going to go 3-on-1 and go ahead, but Jamie Brandon was excellent.
Falkirk are level at Cove Rangers. Hamilton are 1-0 up now at Kelty Hearts in League One. In comes the corner, headed away by Guthrie on the 6-yard line as Shinnie goes in the challenge with Tavernier. It breaks to Rascan in the centre circle. Low ball with the left foot out to the left hand side for Cifuentes. Pokes it back to Rascan. Drops his man there. A good spin there by Rascan, but DeLucas wins it. Back for Livingston and goes back to his goalkeeper. On 58.5, Rangers leading Livingston by 1-0. Cifuentes heads it on towards the Livy box, but it's a calm header back by Michael Devlin to his goalkeeper. I have to say it's brilliant to see Michael Devlin back getting a run of games. Let's hope his injury problems are in the rear view mirror, because he's had an awful time of it in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely has, and it actually shows you the faith and belief that Davy Martindale's got him. Handed him the captain's armband straight away, so he's clearly an influential figure off the field as well.
Ross County 2, St Johnstone 0, St Mirren 2, Dundee 0, 1-0 Rangers here. That's the scorelines in the Premiership. Ayrgeonians 0, Partick Thistle 1 at Firhill, Ayr 1, Inverness 0. Still goalless Dundee United and Dunfermline. Queen's Park still 1-0 up in Arbroath, and 2-1 Raith Rovers against Morton, as the referee gives Rangers a free kick just level with the edge of the centre circle inside their own half, left of centre. 3-0 Montrose at Annan in League 1, 1-1 Cove Rangers Falkirk, 1-0 Edinburgh City against Queen of the South, and 1-0 Hamilton at Kelty. And in League 2 it's 1-0 Bonnyrigg at Clyde, 1-0 Dumbarton against the Spartans, and 1-0 Stranraer at home to East Fife. Rangers have it back here with Cantwell on the near side. Seems to be moving really freely despite the injury he was treated for earlier on. Works it back to Balogun at the edge of the centre circle, out to the left hand side for Barisic. One back though by the tenacious Brandon, who's driving forward. He's on his own and 2 Rangers players gang up on him, and it's Barisic who eventually rolls it back to his goalkeeper. Played an hour at Ibrox, and Rangers with that 1-0 lead thanks to the early Sam Lammer strike. Long ball by Butland with the left foot, looking for Cantwell. Holt is underneath it. He's forced it forward to Montagno here. Montagno driving forward, doesn't get the break of the ball. It bobbles off him, and behind for the goal kick. He scored an absolute rocket at Celtic Park. I seem to remember a couple of seasons ago, Christian Montagno.
I'll tell you, could have let one go there as well, because Jack Butland was well out of his goal. So when that ball eventually arrived at Montagno's feet, Butland was scrambling to get back in between the sticks.
Suitor for Rangers, spreading it out towards Dessers. Well read by DeLucas, who makes the challenge, but it breaks off him, and out of play for a throw-in.
I just get the feeling, Liam, Rangers need to get this second goal, because you can sense already that the fans are starting to get a little bit edgy again. It's only 1-0, which we said would happen, but they need to try and find a way to get this second goal and just put the crowd a little bit more at ease, in a more comfortable position.
It's Barisic wide on the left, Cifuentes for company, rolls it back to him. It is at the feet of the Ecuadorian Cifuentes. Onto the touchline for Barisic, looking for Danilo. Devlin's the covering player for Livy. He wins it and wins the throw-in as well. Off Danilo.
And it might be even a case for Michael to go to his bench just to try and freshen it up a bit and even just get the fans back engaged. Maybe, I don't know, who would get them excited coming off again. Maybe a Hadji's come on, maybe a Kamal Roof up front. Desser's not had a particularly great game. There's one thing Kamal Roof provides, his goal scoring return is always very good.
Rangers have it with Cantwell. 62 on the clock. Cantwell slipping it through, looking for Dessers, but it's overhit again. You can hear the angst amongst the home fans. There will be a goal kick to Livy on 62.
Yeah, again, this is very similar to Wednesday night, Liam, when we're here. Like, yeah, Rangers are winning, and yeah, they've been completely dominant, but they've just not put this game to bed. And the longer it goes, as much as Davy Martindale will be really disappointed in the way they lost the goal, he'll be happy they're still in this game with 28 minutes left. Anything can happen in football. That all it takes is one set play to drop the way it did for Cifuentes in the first half with the handball. They're well in the game, Livingston. They're having to defend a lot and they're having to work really, really hard, but they're well in this game.
Long ball forward by Shamal George. Goes off Raskan, breaks the Tavernier at the edge of the centre circle, knocks it forward, flicked on by Lammers. Stephen Kelly's there. There's Dessers though, heading it to Danilo, now to Lammers. He's got Cifuentes to his right, and then it kind of breaks down at the edge of the box. Lammers there, and just wonder if he was caught in two minds. He knew Cifuentes was peeling off to his right in space, but there's always that temptation when you're attacking the box to try and do it yourself.
He just got it wrong. He's got the ball caught under his feet, it squirmed away from him. And there's one thing for sure, Livingston, they've left Christian Montano off as well. I mean, you're thinking that he's a left wing back, but he was staying up in this attack. He wasn't going back to defence. So you have Montano, Guthrie and Newbley all up there waiting to attack Rangers.
Sports Sound here on BBC Radio Scotland on 810 medium wave, extra on digital online. As Brandon comes forward for Livy, right of the Rangers box, forced back the way to Devlin. Good footwork from Devlin, looks up, right foot cross, ball comes in. Guthrie's waiting, and a really important block there by Suter. Guthrie's in behind to equalise, and but for John Suter he might have done. Stays Rangers 1, Livy 0.
And it was brilliant play from Devlin. He just does the drag back past Danilo. And it's an incredible block for Suter because Guthrie's just waiting there. He would have tapped it in inside the Rangers 6-yard box, but Suter got the outside of his right boot on it and then managed to step up and clear it with his left foot. Livingston still in attack though.
Still very much in the game. The throw in towards Newbley breaks to DeLucas, but it comes ricocheting off him, then Balogun, then DeLucas, and goes behind for a goal kick. And Leon Balogun's got a problem this time in the wake of that challenge. He was slapping the pitch as if to say he wanted some attention. He's back on his feet now though. He's just having a stretch, looks like he's going to be okay.
That's the last thing Rangers need, is another centre back going down.
Not just with today in mind, but with Tuesday night in mind in Switzerland.
Absolutely.
That's a huge game for Rangers as they try and set up a playoff against PSV Eindhoven, who they beat in the same stage last season to reach the groups for the first time in 12 years. Balogun's pass to Barisic was through the legs of the Croatian and out for a throw-in to Livy. Very similar to the other night actually. The difference then was Rangers had a 2-0 lead early on in the match, pegged back just before half-time. It's Tavernier with the outside of the boot to find Cifuentes. Slight challenge, Shinnie's a good one. Breaks back to Cifuentes, rolls it back to Raskan beyond the midway point of the Livy half. Out to Cifuentes, level with the 18-yard line. Right foot, side foot ball into the middle of the park for Balogun. Right foot out to Barisic, takes a touch, looks up, beds the cross ball in. Dessers wins the header, can only head it back across towards the back end of the area, and Devlin comes back to nod it to his goalkeeper. And with just under 25 of the 90 to play, it remains Rangers 1, Livingston 0. That's Sam Lammers' goal in 10 minutes, the difference so far.
And if that's all Livingston or all Rangers are going to come up with is deep crosses for Borna Barisic into Dessar or Lammers, then I think Livingston will be pretty happy, and so will David Martindale be actually dealing with that with the players they've got at the back.
Airdrieonians level against Partick Thistle in the Championship. McGill goal cancelling out the one in the first half from Lyon. Airdrieonians 1, Partick Thistle 1. Ayr United still lead Cali Thistle 1-0. Dunfermline have taken the lead against Dundee United through Craig Whiten. Big goal for the Pars, that one at Tannadice. Devlin for Livy into the box. DeLucas heads it towards the goal. Headed clear by Tavernier. And then Cifuentes helps it on its way. And now it's with Dessers. Cyril Dessers infield to Raskan. Poor ball by Raskan. Gives it straight to Brandon. Forward it comes towards Guthrie. He gives chase. Out comes Butlin. I'm not sure if Guthrie was onside or not. He chased it. Butlin got there. It's another sloppy bit of play by Rangers, and the last thing Michael Beale want his team is to offer Livingston any kind of encouragement that they can equalise in this match. But here come Rangers up the other end. Cifuentes across, and it's blocked and behind. In fact, it's come off. I think it's come off. Dessers was it right on the 6-yard line, and it's gone past.
It's
Danilo it was, yeah, Danilo.
But I just said there about Montano being way out of position. Well, Cifuentes had the runny Ibrox coming on the right hand side, the left hand side of the Livingston attack. He could have actually went all the way to goal. He chose to cut it back from one of his teammates, and I don't know if Obalai's tried to clear it and it's hit Danilo and ended up going wide, but Danilo had his head in his hands.
A bit fortunate from a Livingston point of view, that one. Shamal George will take the goal kick. Remains at 1-0 to the hosts. Long ball towards Guthrie, one in the air by Balogun. And then Raskan loses out to Curtis Guthrie, but it breaks kindly for Rangers and it's cleared by Barisic. And eventually all the way back it goes to Butland. 22 left. Suter rolls it short to Cifuentes. Back to John Suter. He just looks the part, doesn't he? Free of injury. So many injury problems as Devlin wins it back off Danilo. He too, by the way, the two number 5s today have been excellent. Michael Devlin at the back for Livingston and John Suter for Rangers. Bouncing ball, Desser's going after it. Cifuentes gets it into his stride, looks up, little disguised ball looking for Lammers, is cut out. Cifuentes slips as it broke back to him and Shinnie's able to slip it forward there to Kelly midway inside his own half here. He's in a little bit of trouble, but he's able to work it back the way to DeLucas. DeLucas overcooks it. Lammers back heel looking for Dessers, but Kelly's there. It's really sloppy from Livingston this time. Both teams have been guilty of that at times this afternoon. Shinnie clears up to the halfway line. Curtis Guthrie gets there ahead of Balogun. Breaks to Montano, and now Kelly in the centre circle, out to Brandon on the right. Brandon taking on Barisic down the right hand side. He's now the right of the Rangers box. Challenged by Barisic, does well, wins it back. Here's Raskan up the line for Danilo. Lammers and Dessers are ahead of him. He's gone long looking for Dessers, who's going to chase out to this near side. It's not going to get there though, and it was out for a throw in on the near side, and Michael Beale looks to his bench and he's going to bring on Sima and Matondo and a double switch. Kenny Miller.
Yeah, and Lammers is one of the players that's going off for Matondo, and again I thought he could have actually taken Danilo and Dessers off, but I don't think Dessers has had his best day. It might just depend on Danilo's fitness and what Michael had kind of planned for him to play in this game.
Coming off. Dessers off.
I mean, the game's just got so scrappy. It was end to end there in the last kind of 3 or 4 minutes. It's just got I think it's right that Michael's made the change. It gives them some freshness to the attacking areas of the pitch, but there's been something missing in this last 5-10 minutes for Rangers.
Rabbi Matondo, of course, was signed last summer, so any action he gets in the pitch is going to be of huge importance to him in his Rangers career. Livingston are going to make a couple of changes. Jamie Brandon's coming off.
I mean, the one thing I'd say about it, I mean, Christian Montano looks like he's one of the players that's gone off now, but Livingston can't just leave this side of the pitch vacant the way they have done, because they're going to get punished for it.
Cifuentes is getting loads of space down here.
I think that's obviously maybe in the change in Davies' mind, but Montano coming off and James Penrice going on actually here, so I would assume he'll play a little bit more deeper than what Montano is.
Michael Nottingham has also come on. As I said, Jamie Brandon has been withdrawn. Another one of the new signings for Livingston. Really experienced actually, Michael Nottingham. He's 34. Twice capped by St Kitts Nevis. So he makes his way on just his second appearance as Penrice gets his first feel of the ball on this near side. He rolls it back into his own half for Shinnie, who in turn goes back to Obalai. Out to that far side for Devlin, to Obalai. Then to Devlin. Out to the right hand touchline. Nottingham given away now. Chance here at the edge of the box for Danilo. He couldn't dig it out. Livingston clear. Here they come again with Matondo. Rangers out to the left. Barisic, low ball in, is put behind for the corner by Jason Holt.
Brilliant play for Jason Holt there. It was really sloppy for Nottingham, just kind of toe poking it straight to Danilo, setting the tap, but Jason Holt tracked back everything he had just to put him off on the shot, and then he ultimately blocks it out for a Rangers corner.
On 72 minutes. Rangers corner over on that far side. Off to our right is the goal that Rangers are attacking right now. So they look for a second. Tavernier with it. Deep delivery. Way too deep. And it was behind the reverse side of the goal frame for a goal kick to Livy. kind of get the sense the Rangers fans aren't impressed by what they're seeing today.
Again, you said it earlier, Liam, it's a similar feel again to Wednesday night, and the Rangers players are not doing themselves any favours by doing things like that. You've got a chance to put the ball in and try and score. You're kicking out the pitch, you're having sloppy passages of play where you're turning the ball over that lead to Livingston shots on goal and opportunities. You're just giving this Rangers fans the case for being that little bit nervous. You're giving them the reasons and the excuses for it. You need to just be cleaner with the play, and this is the situations now. Who's the one standing up, taking the game by the scruff of the neck and actually giving their best performance, even though when there's a little bit of negativity in there?
It is with Cifuentes, goes back to Suter.
Because again, you think you can't really know him. He's not really been involved since that little incident when he went down. We've barely mentioned him.
Forgot he was playing actually until you mentioned him. All action first half from Todd Cantwell, but yeah, he did take an injury earlier on. He was stretching. There's Nottingham for Livingston, driving across halfway, backtracking well with Rabbi Matondo. He did well.
There's one thing Matondo has got is bundles of pace.
Yeah, he's quick. There's Cantwell for Rangers. Big switch out to Cifuentes. Under pressure from Penrice, finds Tavernier. Poked away from Tavernier by Penrice.
It's exactly what you're talking about, Liam. Like, again, just pass the ball with your teammate, move and pass round the pressure. They're giving the fans like real cause for concern.
Cifuentes, first time into the path of Sima, right hand side of the box, low ball across, comes back to Cantwell after it was missed by a couple. Cantwell goes after it and he was behind for the goal kick. I think it was Nottingham who was snapping at the feet of Cantwell. If Cantwell went down there might well have been a case for a penalty.
I think it was, he looks about 6'5", 6'6", Nottingham, and it was every inch just to get a toe on that to knock it off Cantwell and out for a goal kick. It just looked like Cantwell had sidestepped the pressure and he was going to hit a shot with his left foot for about 8 yards on the angle. Good defending. Last ditch defending.
Yeah, he did really well. There's Cifuentes, given away by Livy. Cifuentes out to Sima on this near side. Sima's on his own, driving forward, testing the pace of De Lucas, who shields the ball brilliantly. That's going to be a Livingston free kick. Little punch of fresh air there by De Lucas in celebration at getting the decision as well.
I think he's forgot the scoreline.
Well, that's it. Livy's still behind, but very much in this game. Can force an opportunity. The way the game's going just now, Rangers don't look like scoring again. Suter goes down, fouled by Curtis Guthrie on this near side. We're in the final 15 minutes, and Livingston are going to bring on Dan Mackay, who's on loan from Hibs. Scored in the Scottish Cup semi and final last season against Falkirk and Celtic respectively when he was at Cali Thistle, and he's going to replace Stephen Kelly, Kenny.
Yeah, again, Stephen on return to Ibrox, I think he's done well. He's had to work ever so hard in the midfield there, alongside in the second half, particularly alongside Holt and Shinnie.
You'll feel he's got something to prove coming back here as well.
Listen, he's been unfortunate again. He's probably just not quite hit the heights that he would have wanted as a young player. He was always a really technically gifted player in the academy. He was always just going to find it really tough to nail down a first team slot.
It's very difficult. It's a very difficult pathway to come through, let's be honest.
It is, particularly in that area of the pitch as well, because it's always been an area that Rangers have been strong in.
There's a chance for Rangers down the left, Cantwell. He just leaves it there for Matondo. Then back to Cifuentes, takes a touch, shoots, deflected towards goal, and Shamal George holds on, and it stays Rangers 1, Livingston 0. But of course, if you are good enough to come through the pathway into the Rangers or Celtic first team, you're being snapped up by big clubs down south. Billy Gilmore off to Chelsea a few years ago. Ben Doak off to Liverpool from Celtic.
That was it, and I think Stephen, he's probably in competition for the midfielders, where he's probably one of these kind of guys, 10s.
Chance here for Rangers, though. Sima goes after it. He's going to get there. He shoots. George blocks and holds on at the second time of asking. After Sima got the break of the ball off Obalai, it looked like he was going to make it 2, but it's held on to by the Livingston goalkeeper. 77 on the clock. Rangers 1, Livingston 0.
I'll tell you, Obalai does incredible there to stay with Sima, because the one thing, he's big, he's quick and powerful, and Obalai manages to stay with him.
Long ball forward which Newbley gives chase, but Butland has it. Round about the penalty spot, he came out to gather as he knocks it short to Raskan. 2-1 Airdrieonians in the Championship now, incidentally. 2-1 Queen's Park. against Arbroath. A goal for either team there as Rangers come forward. Seema across the face of goal, blocked by Shamal George with his right boot. He gets it away. A couple of last ditch bits of defending by Livingston.
It was unorthodox, I would say, the least for Shamal George.
3-2 Wraith Rovers against Morton, a goal each for both of those teams in quick succession as well. Here come Rangers, the cross comes in and it bounces into the back of the net, and Rangers have the crucial second goal, and it's a first for the club for Danilo, who takes the plaudits down on the corner flag on this near side. That should be game, set and match for the hosts. It was bent in from the left hand side, Danilo meets it, and it's Rangers 2, Livingston 0.
Yes, a brilliant cross for Barisic, but Davy Martindale will be absolutely livid with the way his three centre-backs have defended that. Probably Danilo must be the smallest man on the pitch. He's just ghosted in between DeLucas and Oberlai, and it's a free header inside the 6-yard box, or just on the edge of the 6-yard box. And to be fair, take nothing away from the header for Danilo. Does exactly what a good striker should do. Get it down into the ground, into the corner, make the big 6'6" goalkeeper get down into that. Couldn't get down quick enough. 2-0 Rangers, and you're right, Liam, that will be game over.
One of the big money signings is off the mark. Lammers, another Dessers. They've all got a goal, Kenny, early in their Rangers career, and you, as a former Rangers striker, know exactly what that means.
Well, listen, that'll mean the world to them. That's why I think there was so much in that Lammers miss the other night. Not just the fact that how it went for the game, even for the player personally getting off the mark. So now you say today you've had Lammers off the mark, you've got Desser off the mark the other night, and that's Danilo now. I must say Danilo has looked better today than what he did on Wednesday night. He just looks that little bit sharper, his movements are that little bit better, and now he's got his goal. So he'll be going home tonight. As long as it stays this way and they get the 3 points, he'll be feeling a lot better about himself tonight.
11 to play. 2-0 then to Rangers as the heavens open here in Glasgow. The rain absolutely tumbling down. It's back with Suter and now back with Butland. And I guess now Rangers can relax for the final 10 minutes or so, because you just never know at 1-0. Livingston, if you get a set play, anything can happen. They could quite easily find an equaliser, but 2-0.
You're
now
right,
they're cruising.
Anything could have happened, and the way it was going, it could have been a mistake for someone, it could have been a misplaced pass. Now I think they could actually enjoy the last 10 minutes now with a little bit of comfort in the result, that they've got that 2-goal cushion now, so you can stroke the ball about. Livingston are going to throw bodies forward. There may be opportunities at the top end. I think Danilo now or Seema in an attacking sense and a transition moment, they might be able to go and get other goals in this last 10 minutes of the game.
3 changes for Rangers. Cantwell will come off now, Kieran Dowell will replace him, Lundstrom is coming on, and so is Dujon Sterling for Rangers. So a chance for Michael Beale to mix things up a bit for the closing stages of the game, and Cantwell fell out of it after the injury. Rascan coming off as well, as is Cifuentes. So just talking about about Cantwell and Rascan, of course they joined in the winter window last season, but what have you made of Cifuentes today? Of course had a goal ruled out for a handball as he is replaced by Sterling.
I think it's been a real positive debut for him. Very unfortunate to have his goal ruled out, but he's not been involved too much in the game, I would say, but maybe that was more down, particularly in the second half, down to how the game's kind of settled, because he was all action in the first half. The one thing I think he gives Rangers in that midfield is a good bit of legs and good steel. I can't see too many people coming out winning 1v1s against him.
Here come Rangers, the speed merchant Matondo driving forward from inside his own half. Devlin with the tackle, but it's going to be a yellow card for the Livy skipper and a free kick for Rangers as he brings the Welshman down just outside the D, and Rangers will have a chance for a third with this free kick at the edge of the Livingston box. 2-0 they lead.
So quick Matondo, and covering that 40-50 yards, he was just leaving defender after defender in his wake, and obviously it took Mikey Devlin to give the free kick away. And this is probably, it's not a bad distance, maybe an extra couple of yards out would have been good for Tavernier, but I've seen so many times, particularly against Livingston, that he's put this he's put these dead ball situations into the top left hand corner as we look at it.
No prizes for guessing that it is Barisic and Tavernier over it. It's maybe just slightly left of centre, so it will be Tavernier to whip it with the right or Barisic with the left?
And he'll be looking to just get it over Obalai's left shoulder and bending towards that top corner.
Yeah, there's a gap to the left, to the goalkeeper's right. George just standing off his line. Livingston with a line of players forming the wall just around about the penalty spot. It's going to be Tavernier, right-footed, hits it straight into the wall. And then the cross comes in from Sterling and it's headed clear by Livy through Mackay. Breaks to Lundstrom. There goes down the line for Matondo. Matondo looks keen to impress. Moves it back infield, Tavernier. Now with Danilo inside the D. Rolls it back to Dowell. Now with Dujon Sterling on this near side. Just to hang the ball towards the back post. Comes off the defender and was behind for a Rangers corner. 83 on the clock. Rangers 2, Livingston 0. And they've got some serious control of this game once again, the home team.
Yeah, there was a bit slotty period, about 15 minutes, where it was kind of a bit back and forth. And Livingston, if they were ever going to get back into it, that was their opportunity. But with that second goal in, it's just kind of ended any hope of Livingston coming away with any points today.
Still 2-0 Ross County and to St Mirren against St Johnstone and Dundee respectively. In comes the corner from Barisic, flicked into the 6-yard area, breaks to Danilo again, off the post, but the rebound was in, and another new boy has his first goal for the club. Sima smashes it home on the rebound, and the points are now well and truly safe here at Ibrox, as Sima, who's on loan from Brighton, gets his maiden Rangers goal, and it's Rangers 3, Livingston 0. And a scoreline which perhaps more befitting of the dominance of the home team today.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a good ball into Barisic from the corner. Leon Balogun attacks it across the front post, and Seema's actually right in the thick of the action, but it drops to Danilo, who smashes his shot off the post. Fortunate enough for Seema, it comes back and he's the first to react, he's the first one on the move, and he manages to get his shot, and it just squirms under Shamal George. 3-0, and like you say, it's another Rangers new signing, another attacking player getting their first goal.
Livingston staring at a 9th successive away defeat without a goal. Now, obviously, coming to Ibrox or Celtic Park, they count in that terms, but it'll be more of a concern if this continues against the teams that are within shooting range of Livingston. But for Rangers, well, it's a chance to flex their muscles in the final third, and we've just been finished talking, I think, about Danilo scoring his first goal off the back of Dessers and Lammers getting off the mark. Seema's another attacking player, and he too has got his first goal. So Rangers' last 4 goals have all been scored by 4 new boys, and that is of huge importance, not just for the players, Kenny, as Stephen Bradley waits to come on for Livingston, and he's going to replace Newbley. It's not just important for the players themselves personally, but for Michael Beale as the manager, for these guys getting off the mark, it just inspires confidence, and you know that means that there could be bright times ahead for him if he's seeing his marksmen hitting the mark.
Well, it'll be certainly home so, because there's one thing for sure, when the strikers get their goals, and they've got, that's 3 of them off the mark today. Yeah, Dessers got off the mark on Wednesday night against Servette. They are going to now be fully confident going into the games. They're going to be feeling far better in themselves. Again, you think of Lammers when he missed that chance the other night. He's now off the mark. The Rangers have won their first game of the season at home. They're 3 points. They've kind of reacted pretty well after that poor result on opening day. So everybody in these 4 new signings in the front of the pitch will be feeling really, really good about themselves tonight.
Little look at the other scorelines. Airdrie 2-1 up on Partick Thistle in the Championship. Looks like Dundee have pulled one back though against St Mirren. Josh Mulligan's got the goal in that match. So 2-1 it is to St Mirren going into the closing stages of that one. Mulligan scored around about the 65-minute mark in that game. Ross County 2-0 up still on St Johnstone. They're into injury time, a bit ahead of us. Long throw for Livingston into the Rangers box. Is nodded half away, breaks back to Nottingham on this near side. Low ball to DeLucas on the spin. His cross is cut out by Seema, and behind for another Livingston corner. Ayr still 1-0 up on Cally Thistle in the Championship. Dunfermline 1-0 up at Dundee United. 2-1 Queen's Park at home to Arbroath, and 3-2 Raith Rovers at home to Morton. Stirling Albion in League 1 1-0 up at Alloa. 3-1 Montrose at Gala Bank against Annan. 2-1 Cove Rangers against Falkirk as the Livy corner comes in, headed away by Balogun, picked up here by Holt. Edinburgh City behind to Queen of the South, having led in that game. As Danilo turns at the edge of his own box, Rangers in possession, and then Lundstrom takes over, and he's given it away to Shinnie. Just over 2 minutes remaining here. Hamilton Accies 2-0 up at Kelty Hearts in League 1. In League 2, 2-0 Bonnyrigg against Clyde. It's 1-1 Dumbarton Spartans. 0-0 for Elgin, as it is Peterhead Stenhousemuir. And Stranraer 1, East 5-1. Keep up to date with those score lines as the match has come to an end at bbc.co.uk/Sports Scotland. Full roundup to come. Sports Sound on air till 7 o'clock. I think it's that Matondo who's been yellow carded over there. Andrew Shinnie was upended. Free kick to Livingston. A chance to load the penalty area here, or at least the line of Livingston players being marked by Rangers defenders at the edge of the D. An opportunity to get the ball into the box at least for Livingston, but they are 3-0 down here at Ibrox.
Well, that's an opportunity to maybe end that long run of not scoring away from home, Liam.
Shinnie clips it in. Devlin wins the header, but he doesn't get enough in it to threaten Jack Butland, and he flops down onto it, no problem, as we move towards minute 90 here at Ibrox. Yeah, I mean, that must be a concern for Davy Martindale. I know it's when we're mentioning that run of games, it's going over 2 seasons, but it is a problem. If you haven't scored away from home in a league game since January, that's a huge issue.
It absolutely is, as Rangers go on a counter-attack here again.
Matondo seeing lots of possession. Here he goes, driving forward, finds it to the left, and then it's fired. Oh! What a brilliant goal that is from Kieran Dowell. Brilliantly taken, slipped to him by Matondo, into his feet, first time finish, last past Jamal George, and it's going to end up being a very handsome victory here for Rangers. Rangers 4, Livingston 0.
And that is the absolute pick of the bunch, Liam. I mean, just look at the touch for Dowell initially round the corner to Matondo was sensational, and then Matondo covers 50 yards in the blink of an eye, but Dowell managed to gap on the overlap alongside him, and he just smashes it in off the crossbar with his left foot. It's an incredible finish, and it's another new signing off the mark in the Rangers jersey.
Well, there's been times this afternoon when the Rangers support was a little bit disgruntled, but come the close of business, which is just the stoppage time away now, that goal going in the 90th minute, this is going to end up being an extremely satisfying afternoon at the office for Michael Beale, with all these new players getting off the mark for the club. 6 minutes added on at the end of the second half here, incidentally. That's to cover the subs, the treatment to Cantwell earlier on as well.
Yeah, but it's all kind of fell apart.
Celebrations too, but yeah, it has.
It's all fell apart for Davy and Livingston in the last 12 minutes or so. I mean, I think the second goal was the real nail in the coffin. It just kind of ended any hope. Again, like you've said, just at that 1-0 deficit, just digging in and hopefully something falling for a set play or a mistake at the end and maybe trying to salvage a point. As soon as that goal went in, you could see it on the Livingston players' faces, their body language. They knew that was game over.
John Shooter got man of the match from the sponsors. He's just strolled this game, hasn't he?
He has. I would say against Newbley it's never easy. I think Newbley doesn't look right up to fitness, to be honest with you. He did look pretty tired early on tonight, but John Sear's been great again.
Here come Rangers again. Chance for Matondo. His little clip ball from inside the Livingston box is cut out, and the bouncing ball is smashed clear.
And what I would say on it, though, he's had to be, because when you're missing Goldson, who is your main man at the back, someone needs to step up. They need to step up and take over that mantle.
It'll be interesting to see Connor Goldson's in the starting 11 on Tuesday in Switzerland. Rangers go to Geneva, second leg against Servette, live here on Sports Sound and on BBC television as well. This is SEMA for Rangers. They might have more goals in them today. Still more than 4 minutes of the injury time to play. Here is Danilo. He looks full of energy, Danilo, doesn't he? Even though he's perhaps looked a little bit leggy the other night, he's looked very much at it today.
No, he has done. He's looked a lot sharper. He's going to last the 90 minutes now as well. He's got his goal again. That'll help and give him an extra little boost as well. So I think with Seema getting his goal, Lammers and Dowell and Danilo as well going into the game on Tuesday night, it'll just give them so much confidence that they can go, and they've got that monkey off the back. They've produced a really strong one as well with a good performance. So I think everybody surrounding Rangers will be happy tonight.
Yeah, they've been enjoying their football in the main, certainly domestically, at Ibrox for a while now, as they look to close out a convincing victory here. The final whistles will be going around the country just now. We're almost at 5-5. It's still a few minutes to play. Looks like wins for Ross County and St Mirren, and for Rangers as the cross ball towards Curtis Guthrie's too high for him, and it's an easy take for Butland. Heading towards the closing stages. We'll get some reaction for you from all the matches we are covering between now and 7 o'clock on BBC Radio Scotland, with the action to come tomorrow. Midday kick-off at Pittodrie, Aberdeen against Celtic. 3 o'clock, Motherwell, Hibs, Hearts, Kilmarnock. Sports scene both nights. The highlights on the BBC Scotland channel at 7:30, repeated on BBC One Scotland later in the evening. If you have plans, and why wouldn't you? Here's Shinnie for Livingston, for this game petering out. Devlin going all the way back to his goalkeeper. Relatively difficult start to the season league-wise for Livingston. They play Ayr in the League Cup last 16 next week. Rangers have got Morton here next Saturday lunchtime. Started against Aberdeen. Rangers today. Hibs is their next league game. So tricky start for Livy. They're enjoying their record 6th season in the top flight. They managed 5 after the turn of the century with Jim Leishman and Davy Hay when they went on to win the League Cup as well. It's a difficult start for them, Kenny.
It sure is. You know, when you've got Livingston, you've got Aberdeen, you've got Rangers, you've got Hibs. All of a sudden, like the cup tie against Ayr actually becomes a really important game as well, just to try and get that win again and stop the rot of defeats.
Livy coming forward. There's a chance here to play in. Penrice on the left, he smashes it across the face of goal, and Butland holds on. And 3 waiting. Dan Mackay, Curtis Guthrie were both trying to get into a position where they potentially would have been able to knock it home. Stephen Bradley was in there, having begun the move himself. But it remains 4-0 to Rangers as we go into the 6th and final minute of the stoppage time.
Again, the game's obviously died. Rangers just knocking it about. There was a chance there for Livingston actually again to get that goal and come away with a little bit of positive at the end of the game. But Rangers just stroking the ball about now, just try to see it out, run the clock down.
Rangers' next away league game, Kenny, our next league game is away from home to Ross County. That's not going to be an easy match.
Never is. Going up to Dingwall again, particularly if Ross County managed to get that win today.
He's recruited quite well, Malky Mackay.
He has, and last week as well in that opening 15 minutes at Celtic Park. I mean, they gave as good as they got. They could have had a couple of goals themselves, potential penalty as well before Celtic got their penalty. So and they still came away with 2 goals. Tom was saying at the start of the top of the programme, not many teams might go to Celtic Park and score 2 goals this season. So they came out of that with a bit of positivity as well, and now they're backed up with their win. So it won't be easy for Rangers going up there.
And they've got Servette to negotiate on Tuesday night before all that, as well as Morton here in the League Cup next week. Penrice is down, but the time has just about elapsed here at Ibrox. Penrice getting back to his feet. Don Robertson with a whistle in his mouth blows for full time, and it's a comfortable victory in the end for Rangers here against Livingston, who were a stuffy, stubborn opponent for large parts of the game. There was a bit of frustration amongst the Rangers supporters. Lammers though gave them an early lead on 10. Cifuentes thought he'd scored, but it was ruled out after a VAR check unearthed a handball by the Ecuador international. But goals in the last 12 minutes from Danilo, Seaman, Dowell, the latter being the pick of them. See Rangers win this game pretty handsomely in the end up, and they've reacted very well to their opening defeat at Kilmarnock a week ago, and now their attention will turn to the trip to Geneva and Champions League qualifying, and that second leg against Servette, where they take a wafer-thin 2-1 lead to Switzerland. It finished here, Rangers 4, Livingston 0.
Let's then get to our commentary game this afternoon. It came from Ibrox, Rangers against Livingston, with Roddy Loy and our match commentator Liam McLeod.
Yeah, it was a comfortable result in the end up for Rangers as they scored 3 times in the last 12 minutes. But there were periods in the match when there was a little bit of frustration from the home supporters. They took the lead early, as they did against Servette the other night. Sam Lammers grabbing his first goal for the club as he lashed home. Cifuentes thought he'd his first for the club about 10 minutes later, but it was ruled out for a handball after a VAR check, and that was ruled out. So Rangers had to huff and puff a little bit after that. Livingston were stubborn. We know what they're like defensively. They are dogged, they dig in, and they did so here as well off the back of that clean sheet against Aberdeen last week. Indeed, that Lammers goal was the first Jamal George has conceded in the games that he's played for Livingston this season. Rangers, though, introduced a few players. The likes of Rabi Matondo came on, Sima came on, added a bit of energy to the performance as well, and Danilo got off the mark for the club as he knocked home on 78 minutes. It was a good header actually from the Barisic cross from the left. Sima made it 3 on 84 before Dowell scored the pick of the bunch. Wonderful finish after brilliant work between he and Rabi Matondo. Dowell had the finish in the left foot, fired it across the face of goal into the top right hand corner. It was a magnificent finish for Rangers, and it sent the Rangers supporters home very happy indeed. Davy Martindale will be lamenting the late collapse here. His team hasn't scored a goal in a league match away from home since they put 4 past St Johnstone back in January. It's a 9th successive away league defeat without scoring for them, albeit that is obviously going back into last term. So that's a concern for them ahead of Ayr United in the League Cup next week. Rangers can now turn their attention to Tuesday evening and that second leg against Servette. But today, Rory, I mean, 3-0, 4-0, probably about right for Rangers based on the dominance that they had today.
Yeah, there was a little spell at the start of the second half for 10-15 minutes for Livingston. Started to try and make their way back into the game, but I thought John Souttar was excellent in the back.
He was named man of the match by the sponsors.
He was superb, I thought he was. However, with 15 minutes to go, I'm sitting here thinking, I think Michael Beale's got more questions than answers at the end of this. However, in the last 15 minutes, to get Dowell, Sima, Danilo off the mark, as well as Lammers scoring earlier on, I think that ticks a big box in terms of confidence. I think Danilo, you could clearly see how comfortable he was through the middle. His movement, his touch, his link-up play. I think that's his position. I think he's got to play through the middle. He was considerably better than Dessers when Dessers was on the pitch. You've got Matondo on the pitch and Sima. I think that answers a question. You need to have width. You can't have everyone dropping into the same space and making things narrow and tight. You need to have space, because they were absolutely terrific for 10-15 minutes. Really, really good. Thoroughly deserved their win in the end. Scored some good goals. And like I said, that last 15 minutes will have answered a lot of questions and relieved a little bit of possible anxiety and fear in Michael Beale.
Yeah, of course, that came about because of the defeat on the opening day at Kilmarnock a week ago. They've made up for it today with a handsome victory in the end, and now they can look forward to Geneva and Servette on Tuesday. It finished Rangers 4, Livingston 0.
Thank you to Rory and to Liam McLeod. As Liam said, their full coverage of that game on Tuesday evening right across BBC Scotland Sports Sound on air, as you'd expect. Full coverage also on the BBC Scotland television channel, and of course all the action will be online as well. So everything covered for that huge game for Michael Beale's side. Tom English, we talked a lot during that game. Rory gave us a flavour. It was similar during the week when they weren't getting that killer third goal against Servette, and for a long time it was 1-0 against Livingston at Ibrox this afternoon. When things did click in the end, it was a convincing 4-0 win.
It was, yeah. They made a kind of scratchy enough performance into a very convincing victory in the end. If Dessers to score against Servette, that's the Fordham now off the mark. Dessers during the week, Lammers, Danilo and Sima. I think it is very interesting to see what they're going to do now with that front three. Does Danilo take that position through the middle? Matondo was very effective, and you could see the pace and the tempo upped when he came onto the pitch. So I think they do need that type of wide player with a bit of pace, with an ability to stretch defences. The front three, Lammers, Danilo and Dessers, are we going to see much of them? Probably not as a three, because I'm not sure they work as a three. Matondo made a hell of a difference when he came on.
Would you go along with that, Rory? Is that a fair assessment from Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I do think the three of them have the potential to play together again. What I will say is that in terms of Matondo, he's the type of player who it does suit him to come on at that time in the game when it's stretched. What Matondo needs to do if he wants to cement his place is to do it from the start against teams which come and make it difficult at 0-0. And if he can do that, then he's got more chance of breaking into this team rather than being an impact sub. I think Danilo, like I say, I thought he was excellent through the middle. And for me, that's who I would be starting through the middle midweek. You've got Lammers, Dowell and Sima coming on. Dowell and Sima coming on as well, who I thought were good when they came on. Dowell's goal was sublime. It really, really was. So I totally take Tom's point. With the players they've got available, Dessers in particular really has to up his game before Michael Beale, I think, thinks about playing him in the more difficult games.
Yeah, what did you make of that performance? We saw the game come into the studio. We heard Rory on open all mics. In the end, it's a convincing win, but cause for concern there, or is it just a side that's going to take a bit of time to gel together?
Yeah, it was patchy. Safe to say that. I think Rangers started probably well again, similar to midweek. Then they kind of lose that intensity and impetus, lack of consistency. I said it earlier on, I thought it looked at times like they were making it up, and by that I just mean that the individual players are doing their own thing. There doesn't really seem to be a consistent theme, whether it's looking to get the ball wide, and I'm looking at the deliveries, Rory, as well, that Barisic provides. And I know we can all be probably very critical of Barisic when it comes to his defending, but there's no doubt that the delivery that he offers up from a wide area is exceptional, and I don't understand why Rangers don't utilise it consistently in games. It almost feels like at times when you find Barisic in those areas that he provided the delivery there for Danilo's goal, that it's by chance.
Yep.
It doesn't look like it's a constant theme. Can we move it? Can we work it? Can we rotate in the middle of the pitch?
Yeah.
And can we get the ball wide and deliver for these players that possibly are starting wide and coming inside as three strikers, and you're getting Tavernier down the opposite side? That's what I mean by making it up. So it doesn't look like there's any real fluidity.
You're absolutely
there.
right, Leanne, and I totally agree. And it's a great point, because see, when the subs come on, it was a 4-3-3, and it was like the players went, we're playing 4-3-3, we know what we're doing. So, naturally you're comfortable with your position and where you're going and where you're moving. Whereas before that, it was like a free-for-all. It was like, we've got good players, go and be good players, but it doesn't work like that.
No, not in the modern day game, especially now, because I don't think players react the same way players would have done 15, 20 years ago, where they would have the ability to do that. I think players now need to know exactly where they've to be for probably 80% of the game. Another 20% maybe takes care of itself, but they finished the game strong, and that's probably credit in terms of the strength and having options to bring off the bench and freshen things up. And you're looking even at a player like Matondo, who was, very sparingly used last season, but he's come in and he does look lively, as Tom mentioned. He could possibly link it and link better with the new additions that have come into the group. It's just trying to find that kind of consistent 11 just now, or your strongest 11 that can offer Rangers an opportunity to really get themselves going.
They all seem to, Dessers, Lammers and Danilo, they all seem to want to play in the same position. So you have two square pegs and round holes there. So Beale is going to have to.
I'm not sure Dessers would fall into that category, Tom. He plays up top. He plays as the number 9. It's the guys round about him, the 4-5 round about him. Dessers does try and stay high up the pitch. It's just his quality was really lacking today.
Yeah, but you look at some of the positions he gets himself into, though. I mean, I don't know. They just look, as a three, they look ill at ease with each other. Now, they don't know each other's game. They're brand new. Let's see how it pans out. But certainly Rangers looked far more threatening when there was a bit of width in the team. That's what they need. And, I'm sure they're all, Danilo, Lammers, I'm sure they're all decent players. But I don't think you're going to see the best of them unless you can get these defences stretched. And Livingston, when they became stretched, they became stressed. And then Rangers turned it on in the last 10 minutes to score two very good goals.
4-0 win for Rangers over Livingston this afternoon. We'll hear from both Michael Beale and Davy Martindale on Sports. Just in the next couple of minutes, we'll hear from the Rangers manager, Michael Beale. 4-0 at home to Livingston this afternoon. Lammers on 10 minutes, Danilo on 78, Sima on 84, Kieran Dowell sealing things off. A great finish in the 90th minute. Listen here from the Rangers manager, Michael Beale. He's been speaking with our reporter, Martin Dowden.
Michael, I think it's fair to say a deserved outcome and result. What did you make of the overall performance? A lot of good, maybe a couple of things to work on.
Yeah, the sort of game was in three parts maybe. The first part really good, get 1-0 up, get 2-0, and obviously the VAR goes against us. No problem with that, but I felt after it we were a bit slow and sticky, and Livingston sort of reduced the spaces for us. The second half started like that as well, and it did get a bit nervy in the stadium. I thought the changes had a big impact on the game, and there was a lot of positives by the end of it. We were wasteful in the middle part of the game. We had good positions on the pitch, and our last decision was really poor. I think the last 25, 30 minutes we got that back, and that was a big part to Abdullah Sima and Rabbi Matondo coming off the bench, I think.
What's the value for you of some of your new signings getting their first goal for Rangers?
Hugely important. I think this week they've rode every emotion, and for 5 of the boys to score their first goal this week, that will do them a wealth of good. Jack getting his first clean sheet, Dujon making his debut. I thought Cifuentes was probably the pick of the players today, along with John Suter. I thought he had an excellent debut. So, yeah, overall, I think it's been a big eye-opener for them as a week. As a team, we've shown a bit of everything. We've shown some good play. We've shown some poor play as well. So we're a work in progress.
What do you take from that sort of performance into, obviously, what's a massive night on Tuesday for you?
Well, we're scoring goals. You know, we scored 2 in the week and we should have had more. We scored 4 today, we should have had more. So that there's a good sign behind that we're creating a lot. And if we get a little bit sharper and our combinations get a little bit crisper in terms of the relationship, I think we'll score goals. It's nice to keep a clean sheet. We would have had a clean sheet in midweek if it wasn't for, obviously, the deflection in terms of the VAR as well. So defensively, we're not giving much up either.
In terms of, I think you said this week actually, it's more than 11 that you're looking for a contribution from. Was that evidence of that today in terms of the impact that people coming on made?
Yeah, for sure. Look, Abdullah Sima is very versatile. He can play right, left or through the middle. We see Danny today starting in a front 2, then going through the middle. And Rabbi gives us something completely different. If he can find some consistency in his last pass or shot, then certainly has attributes that maybe 1 or 2 others don't have in the squad. With a Fashion Sakara or Ryan Kent moving on, this opens up a space for Rabbi, but he's got to take his opportunity. Today, he very much did that, I feel.
Michael Beale there, Rory Loy, last word from you on this. Are you confident Rangers can get the job done against Servette on Tuesday evening?
Yes, I am. I think the game will suit them. I think it'll provide opportunities. I do think Michael Beale's got a lot to think about in terms of team selection. I think he was a bit kind to his players to say that the performance came back with 25-30 minutes to go. I think it was the last 15 minutes at most. But there's food for thought there in terms of the last 15 minutes, and that'll give him great confidence going into get into Tuesday night's game, because I think if the game had finished 1-0, great, you've won the game, but I think he's going home scratching his head. I think he's got stuff to work with now. He says Danilo started in the front 2. He spent a lot of his time out here on the left-hand side and wandering around the middle of the pitch at times. So when they went to that 4-3-3, myself and Leanne have already discussed it. There was a structure there, there was an understanding there. I thought Danilo was great. That's where I would be playing him on Tuesday. It'll be interesting to see what Michael Beale does. And the game might just suit Rabbi Matondo in terms of being open. So he's done everything he can to try and get in that team, Matondo. But last word from me would be Rangers thoroughly deserved the victory in the end, and the talking point will be Tuesday night's selection.
Yeah, full coverage right across BBC Scotland of that game in Switzerland. I can see all the managers on my screen at the moment, so all the reaction to come on Sportsround between now and 7 o'clock. If you're just getting back to your car, I'll go through all the full-time scores for you. So in the Premiership today, Rangers 4, Livingston 0, Ross County 2, St Johnstone 0, St Mirren 2, Dundee 1. In the Championship, Airdrie 2, Partick Thistle 1, Ayr United 1, Inverness Cally Thistle 0, Dundee United 1, Dunfermline 1, Queen's Park 2, Arbroath 1, and Wraith Rovers 3, Morton 2. In League 1, Alloa Athletic 0, Stirling Albion 1, Annan Athletic 1, Montrose 3, Cove Rangers 2, Falkirk 2, Edinburgh City 1, Queen of the South 2, Kelty Hearts 0, Hamilton Accies 2. And in League 2 this afternoon, Clyde 0, Bonnyrigg Rose 2, Dumbarton 1, Spartans 1, Forfar 0, Elgin City 0, Peterhead 0, Stenhousemuir 0, and Stranraer 1, East Fife 1. And in the English Premier League, Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 1, Bournemouth 1, West Ham United 1, Brighton 4, Luton Town 1, Everton 0, Fulham 1, Sheffield United 0, Crystal Palace 1. There is a 5:30 kick-off. Newcastle United are up against Aston Villa.